Hi, welcome to Thursday with a Friend. My name is Lawrence. Punk, Larry, so many different names that people can call me. Today on this special episode full of religious and political talk, we're going to be talking with my special guest, Hyperdellic. How are you doing? And I'm just joking. Yeah, I'm just joking. There will be no politics or religion, but maybe
It's okay.
backstage we might be talking about it, but not on camera because
Right.
we both agree it goes nowhere good.
Yeah. It's unsafe. And I'll lose all my subscribers.
You and me both. At least half of them. At least half of them. Anyway, how are you? And thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful Thursday. You know what's weird? I schedule these pretty far out in advance. And then I start to worry about like if people are going to be able to make it, if they're going to remember. I started doing the whole at the beginning of the month, started kind of promoting it, putting it out there. And then I create the stream after. I'm like, hey, you sure you're going to do this? Yep, cool. Hey, the stream is done, just so you know. So if anyone has they need a change. Again, no one's getting paid for this. Shh, don't tell anyone.
Oh no. Wait, what?
So yeah, I'm booked all the way through we have this is March, April through May. So I'm gonna be starting looking at June, going into Joe Fest, but yeah, I still got a ways to go, but I'm like, how far out should I start asking people?
Yeah.
But
I made my attempt at trying to do interview stuff, and man, it was beyond my ADHD capabilities. I was like, hey, I gotta focus.
You had me on, so
I did. Only you and Allison Troy were the only two people I ended up doing. And I was just like, after that, not after that, like had Skelevator and him and I played tag for like a while, and after a while I was just like, cut out for this. I was like, I'm gonna stick with my, I'm gonna get back into my lane.
It's one of those things, and yours wasn't live either, right?
No, I recorded it just because like I'll ramble on for forever about something, and like with the I just wanted the ability to, like, if we needed to cut something out or make something shorter, we could, but yeah, I don't know. I think live would be easier.
Yeah, I don't want to cut anything. The whole purpose is to, but also, after doing this for God, what are we on? 2 years now? A year and a half, 2 years or so. It's one of those things where it's like I know the questions I want to, the question to avoid. Anyone that's been on, they know the question that I asked before. There's no vetted questions, but I do say, is there anything you don't want to talk about? And if someone's like, yeah, I really don't want to talk about, my childhood with my, with my parents, or what my relationship is, or I've had people say they don't want to talk about being in the military, fully understandable. I'm not I'm never going to be that, and I tell people, especially people that aren't really familiar with the show, I go, I'm not going to ambush you with questions. I'm not that guy. I'm not the gotcha guy. Like, oh, I finally got them on, and I'm going to ask them something that I know they don't want to answer and put them on the spot. Like, I hate that in sports radio, when someone does that, and it's like, okay, so that's your way. Then half the people go, oh, wow, he's the one that actually goes out on a limb, and then the other people are like, yeah, you're an a-hole. You can say I'm an a-hole, but not for that.
Sometimes people just are going for those like shock moments just so they could get some like views. I mean, there's got to be you got to have some level of like, decency somewhere. Like you want to keep on having guests. Like I never understood that. Like people who like, would ambush somebody with a question, and like crazy things like that. And like if it was like a guest show, like, and that person's just, how are you going to get another guest? That's not going to happen. You got to be nice. Well, sometimes a little bit.
Well, it's okay. It's okay to ask hard questions. I think a lot of people have a hard time not getting personal. And
Yeah.
there's no reason to ever be personal about this, because if there's something personal, I'm not going to have anyone on I personally do not like. That's great entertainment for everyone else.
Yeah. Well, and
That
I
is
have
high blood pressure
ADHD,
for
so
everyone else.
I just share too much all the time anyways.
So welcome to the club. I look at some, and we were just talking about having, my daughter Olivia on at the end of the month for Thursday with a friend. I feel like sometimes I've let the world into too much, but it's kind of too late. I over explain things at work when I'm fixing copy machines, and I say this. Like someone will ask, like, well, what's going on with it, and I start explaining, and you get to a point where you have over explained it. You're in the middle. You no longer really want to explain it. You can tell they no longer really wanted to hear it, but there's no eject button, So it's like you asked, I started, we're all finishing this awkward conversation. All right. Because if I eject, one of us hits the canopy like Goose, and one of us survives like Maverick.
That's right. There you go. I like that. You worked in
And
that Maverick.
I am the pilot here. So
yeah.
So quickly, before we get started, let me ask, where does the name Hyperdellic come from? Because it is a very unique name, and I have no idea.
I was a big Pink Floyd fan when I was younger, and I one of the little like trivia thing about Pink Floyd is that the term psychedelic was actually coined by a psychiatrist after a Pink Floyd concert, after he saw like what they did with their light show, and like put a couple of Latin words together, and psychedelic was created. And when I came up with that name, I was a graphic designer in school, and I wanted to basically come up with a company name, but I started to think about it, and one of my friends like suggested take two things that you think are cool, or whatever, and it was like the 90s, 90, 96, 90, so it was like hyper everything, and psychedelic, so I just mashed them together. And I and then so everything that I had was like hyper, and I just hung on to it, I mean, and it's because later I found out that I had ADHD, so that kind of like oh yeah, I'm hyper and weird, and I did a lot of psychedelic art and stuff like that, and enjoyed that kind of a thing, like, and then got into graphic design, and like I was not satisfied with it, and it just I did things on the side, but I always hung on to the name, right?
That becomes your identity.
Right.
I used to run a sports message board, and before that, I got the license plate Boba Fett.
Hypercolor shirts were the best, Kenzo.
Yes, I know it. Not my style. So I got the license plate Boba Fett, and you guys can still see it in some of the videos that I've done, like downstairs. Boba Fett with one T, because you can only put 7 letters on a license. And I used it as a screen name in my sports message boards and forever. So people knew me as Boba Fett. And there is somebody that goes by Boba Fett in the community. And I would be in Geek Dead Life or Toy Anxiety. That's where I would see it normally. And I'd see the comment. I'd see them, and I'd be like, I didn't post. Oh, and I haven't used that in years. Hyperdellic, I don't think you're going to hear anyone else say that. Now, do you mind telling people what your real name is?
Ron. Like, and that's part of it too, is like my name is just so boring, and then I have like I'm Polish, so like my last name is spelled Gucwa, and it's not pronounced like that. it's Gutswa, right? 20, I think it's like 25th or somewhere in the 20s, like most common Polish names in Poland. So like it's not Smith or Johnson, but it's like somewhere in between. So like it's not a weird name, I guess, if you're Polish, but like over here there's nobody.
So Beardy McBeardison is asking, is your name short for Aaron?
No, and I'm the second.
So you know this, right? So Ronnie Trickshot, his name is
Yeah. What
Aaron.
about? Oh.
His name is
Okay.
Aaron. So
Aaron.
I remember I was asking Shark Eyes. I go, where does Ron come from, Aaron? And he
Yeah.
goes, well, that's short for it. I'm
Aaron.
like, no, it's not. He's like, yeah, it is. I have never heard, but in Australia, people named Aaron go by Ron or Ronnie or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, we've never heard it here. Like, it's never been
Yeah.
never
It's
been
not.
a choice.
That's not a common like happening over here.
But when you look at it, it's like, why isn't it? It
Yeah.
makes
It makes sense.
it makes sense. It's literally in the name, but I had never heard it, and I was like, so. Let's head of the chat before we get into everything quickly. We have Same Time Toys, who I hope is still here. He jumped in a little bit early. GI Bro has the best guns in the community. Evo Duque is here. Beardy McBearderson, who we just heard from. U.S. Combat Dojo. We have Checkpoint Alpha. We have 3-star Draw. We have you.
Me.
Hustle SM. This is Ron. Viper Scout saying, hey, y'all. We have Matthew Matson saying, what? I've been expecting a paycheck for 2 years now. Ed Action Figs, my other moderator. We have Kenzo's Creation jumping in here. Look, Same Times Toys, I guess, was still awake. Troy Dotson is here. We have Big M. Did I ever tell you the story about? So one day I'm live. It was a weird day. It wasn't a normal day, and my daughter's fiance or boyfriend, whatever you want to call him, jumped in, and they just happened to watch because my son was talking to him, so they kind of jumped in, and then Big M jumped in. I know I said this at another stream, and my daughter's name is Emily, and I was like, oh, this must be my daughter, Big M, because I'd never seen it before. But then I was looking at the logo, and I was like, I don't think that is. Then I started seeing them in different streams, and I'm like, nope, that is not Emily. We have Menhoza jumping in here.
Oh my!
Yeah, people try to say Menjoza, but they're completely wrong. Eric Thurman. We would not be talking politics. Joe Fan 84. We have Lee 86. We have any more 80s in here we can get to? Tony's.
I do have a YouTube channel.
What?
He was asking if I have a YouTube. Yes, I do.
Oh,
yes, I do.
You know what? I totally forgot to put that in there.
Oh,
I get really bad with that stuff. I mean to put it in, and then I just totally forget. Gun Bunnies Customs. We'll put it in afterwards. It'll be there, I promise you.
That's how I get it all done. It's all done in post.
Anyway, that is everyone. 31 people right now. Hit that like button. Now I'm gonna have to go. I'm like, did I create this? Matthew. Well, you know what? Let me see. See, this is what you call total shit radio, but it's not radio. It's
yeah.
It is Hyperdellic, right?
Yep. HYPERDELLIC. It's Hyperdellic, dude.
It populates right away. So
yeah.
It is now in the comments. Or I'm not in the comments, in the
comments or the description. In
the description that I'm looking at right now. Matthew, Ed, if one of you guys could drop that would be great. I'll put the Instagram in after. It's been a long week. It's been a very long week. Anyway, let's get into it. Do you mind me asking how old you are?
Old. I'm really old. No, I'm not actually. I'm don't let the gray and the, everything fool you. I'm 48. Well, I'm going to be 48 this year.
So you're younger than me.
Yeah, but my family, we have this weird gene where our hair just goes gray, like super. Like I started pulling grays when I was like 20. My brother, who's actually younger than me, is like his beard and his hair is lighter colored than mine. So it's yeah, we just look like old people.
I always felt bad for the kids like we saw that started graying in high school.
Yeah.
But like none of them seemed to really care.
Yeah, like I didn't really care when I was in my 20s. And honestly, I mean, like after my daughter was born, I still had a lot of brown in my hair, but it was like
Oh, that should have
not
gone away
great.
real quick.
As
There's
soon
like
as I had
kids
my
like
kid, oh yeah, that hair went white fast.
I used to tell mine there's 3 every single day for each and every single one of you. The truth is there was 4, one for their mother, but I didn't want to say that. Um, it seems like I have more gray until it starts growing back in, and then I'm like, I don't have that much, but I have a lot less of it. I can tell you that much. I have a lot
For a
less of
while
that
I
here.
was dyeing it like not brown though. I was dyeing it like purple and all kinds of stuff. I had a mohawk for a little while and that would get dyed up and then I'd dye the beard and people were just like, "Whoa, bro." Like
Isn't it crazy how people think like I think we're getting, the younger generation doesn't think it, but some of the older generation still thinks like you have, again, I believe you need to become an adult, but you don't have to completely grow up and just be what your parents were.
right.
But,
Right.
because I talk to the younger generation, they're like, I don't see why you think that it's weird that, or I don't see why you think that people look at you, weird for skateboarding still at your age. And it's like, it's not you guys.
Yeah, I think that's
It's the
awesome, man.
people that are my age or maybe even a little bit older, because to them it's a kid thing. But by the time you're my age,
Yeah.
guys like myself, not the non-pros, the guys like myself and other guys that are doing it, we continue to do it the same way the guys that play basketball or play beer league hockey and stuff like that. Like they're
Gaming,
still
like
doing it.
playing
You know?
video games, man. That was not something my parents did. Well, my dad did, but my dad was a computer nerd.
Okay.
So, but I mean, I've been into video games my whole life and like that's not like I have my mother-in-law and my like kind of sort of father-in-law, I guess. Uh they're like video games? Why would I do that, like they're and I look at them, I go, bro, it's good for your brain. But honestly, I mean, it was just something that we grew up doing, and like just like old guys that do model trains, like they don't give it up. They keep,
You know
they keep
that
enjoying what you enjoy.
it's funny because like people look at the toy collecting too,
Yeah,
and we'll
thank you,
get
buddy.
into that later on, and they like, wow, aren't you an adult? But do you do you remember the people like you go somewhere with your parents, and someone in their basement would have a train city, and I always
Yeah,
thought it was the coolest thing. They have this
right.
big, huge section or slot car, a whole slot car city, right? And I thought it was the coolest thing. But no one looks at them like really, you watch a train go around, but us playing with action figures, or not even so much playing, most of us don't play with them other than Ed, who literally would play with them until his wife came home and saw him on the steps, and she just looked at him. And if I
I
remember
do a lot
correctly,
of photography with them and playing
yeah.
around with them that way nowadays.
And
Um,
it's the same thing, but what's the difference if I'm posing this or if I'm sitting there and being a real photographer and having a family stand like, hey, put your arms
yeah.
like this and sit back.
Well,
Hey,
and
time to change your clothes. That's what we call changing the hands out.
that's right.
Wardrobe change.
Well, and I always, I mean, I mean, obviously, I have toys everywhere around me right now, but I am never like, I almost never leave the house without like some kind of an action figure in my pocket. Like, I'll take like a Ghostbuster ghost or something like that, and I have to have something to fidget with. And toy relate, like my one friend, she was cracking up and just like she was befuddled, like because she was like, what do you have in your pocket today? And I pulled out the Super 7 Big Bird, and she was like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with it? Like, it's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Like, makes me have good memories.
yeah. I mean, I don't do that, but I know there are certain people that they're like, today this is my pocket fig, and
Hmm.
they change it around,
Yeah.
and every single time they're gonna have a figure in their pocket, and I think it's not for me because I'm already distracted enough with this damn phone. All right, let alone then you're gonna give me, you know, a toy, and I'm gonna be sitting there trying to figure anything out.
Right.
And what's weird is that my lunchtime, when I can be doing all kinds of stuff for work, it is literally sitting playing this stupid game that Monday through Friday, or I say Monday through Thursday, there's like this little hour competition and I try not to talk to anyone during it, like
What game?
answering. What is it called? It
Is it
is.
like people having a game at work?
It's called Royal Match.
Okay.
It's just stupid. It's a stupid fun game that I just, I found it and I just play it, and I usually do the hour thing for my lunch. So sometimes my lunch may take a little bit longer than an hour because, I don't start it right away. I have to get my food and then stop and eat, and then I got to start the game. So it's not my fault. Quickly, we got Mother Slug jumping in here. We got I was about to say Kiwi GI Customs and
Slug
Collections. We have Krusty Old Crow jumping in here. We have Rowdy Riles, all jumping in here. And Krusty saying, had to punch that like button to let me in. Yes, please hit that like button, and also go in the description where now is Hyperdellic's YouTube page. He wasn't there before, and his Instagram isn't there yet because I haven't put it in there.
I'm not there somewhere.
And then 2D3 Trooper. Okay, got my screen name changed. I was about to say I've never seen you here before, so I'm assuming you've been here before, but now you're someone new. And SDS Dog. And Eric Thurman says, I have the Tremors figure in my pocket.
Nice.
Listen, I don't know what that is, but that might be something personal if you have a Tremor in your pocket.
Is it tremoring or is it?
Do you have a hole in your pocket that you can just slide your hand all the way through?
And those tremors things, they were like big worms that opened up like the Dune.
And that's why I'm asking if it's an actual toy. I don't need to see you on the. I'm not going to see you on the news, right? Am I that? There's a guy running around California with a trench coat. Hey, kids. Paige Toy Samples jumping in here saying, stopping in to say hi, kids. Oh, I'm sorry, say hey, kids.
Hey, kids.
All right. So do you mind me? Where did you grow up at, and what was your family life? Are your parents, you have siblings? Were your parents together? Are they still together?
So yeah. So my mom and dad got divorced when I was 2. My dad, he didn't waste a lot of time. I think by the time I was 5, he was remarried. So, he took a few years, but he was dating for most of that time too. My stepmom is an awesome lady. My mom got me into my biological mom. She got me into GI Joe. She was the one that bought me my my USS Flag, and she was in the military. So, but I grew up in Chicago, and my mom at one point moved to Texas for a few years, so I was going back and forth between Chicago and Texas. I'd fly out there, they'd make fun of my accent. I'd come back here with a Texas accent, they'd make fun of my accent again. So I'd come back saying things like chips. Right? So hey, it's all right.
That's awesome. So no matter where you went, you got made fun of.
Right. So sometimes a little bit of that there Texas accent comes on out, and I can't, it's a part of you. If you've ever spent any time in Texas, you kind of tend to end up having it get in you like a bad virus.
I feel like a lot of those southern states, you do that. Other than Florida, which has no Texas, no southern accent whatsoever.
It depends. If you go north, you might actually hear some southern.
Tallahassee?
Yeah, a little bit. I got a dingo down kind of bottle do sort of boomhauer thing going on.
I think a lot of Northerners may get it because now you have this ability to say these things wrong, enunciate them improperly because everyone else is. The same way when you go to Canada and you start finding yourself speaking
a lot and talking about the cat's ass.
Yeah, and you start enunciating different letters wrong because they do it all the time. And again, I live very close to Canada.
Out.
Yeah, out. I'm out and about. What do you?
Go bags.
Is it a boot? Is that like a boat? A boat. Oh, okay. All right. And where's out? What's in the out? Oh, you went outside. Okay. Canadians also have a tendency to ask if you're from the States.
Right.
No, I'm from one state, but I'm not
Well,
from
they
all
just want to
50 of
know. They
them.
want to be prepared.
Yeah.
They know how rowdy we are. Sorry.
Rowdy says I grew up in Virginia Beach, and I only sound Southern when I'm drunk and angry.
I like that how like when it comes out in people, it's like, sometimes there's something specific induced, like I knew this lady who she would get real Southern when somebody would bring out cheesecake, and it was just like the funniest thing. She's
That's
like, oh, that reminds me of my grandma. Stuff like that. So it's like, okay, all right. I've always been fascinated with like people's accents and stuff like that. Oh, by the way, fun fact: did you know that the English actually say herb incorrectly? It's supposed to be herb. That's one for
Preston
us.
saying that's East Coast Canada. Now that sounds kind of weird. I've heard a lot of Canadians say that that's how that side says, and you're like, what do you mean? All Canada says it, but then we have to remember down the middle of Canada, they don't even want to speak English; they want to speak French.
Yeah,
So
a
it
lot
makes
of them.
complete sense why it's like that. Yeah, and Darren says I only sound Southern when I'm speaking. Yeah, but I can understand you. I've never not been able to understand you. Unlike some people where you look at them and you're like, how many times can you say, could you repeat that? And I don't care what accent it is. You can only ask so many times. I think 3 is that cutoff, and then you just nod your head. Yeah. And they're like, oh, you agree? And you're like, God, I hope it's nothing negative.
It's so funny. Like because now I live in Indiana, right? And I used to live in Illinois, and then I moved to Indiana, and I pretty much am in the same state. I mean, Illinois and Indiana are like photocopies of each other.
Yeah,
They want to pretend like they're different from each other, but they're not. And so like it's fun. Chicago and everything, and up here we say front room and that to
You're kind of breaking up, and I hope it's not just me. Now you're frozen.
no.
You there?
You got me again?
Yeah, you're kind of frozen up. It can't be me because I'm looking on my other screen and I'm not frozen. So yeah, Mother Slike says it's you.
Yeah, it's me. It's me. Hang on. No. Maybe
it happens. It happens. That's why I don't pay you guys.
Well, it's funny. I'm on a Wi-Fi connection too, so I mean, at some point, I'm gonna connect straight to my router. But I actually usually get a pretty good signal wirelessly down here. I've game streamed wirelessly. It's crazy. So, but yeah, like
it also depends on how many people in your family have decided to stream right now.
Well, yeah. Like my phone, I put it on my, just my cellular signal. And then my wife and my daughter are probably on YouTube right now.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Jose says, yep, it's breaking up for sure. And Mother Slug says, coat hanger, get bent.
Oh, that's ouch.
I think he meant for an antenna, not for the other thing, Dirty Dancing wise.
I mean, we're hoping.
Either way, I find them both pretty funny.
Oh, that's like I was chatting like that one guy, Michael Mercy. He was doing a live stream, and I said something about how I was like, oh, now we need a 1/6 scale Tesla. Oh, we were talking about the mask line, and I was like, they need to make a Tesla Cybertruck one, and when you press the button, it just blows up. And he was like, oh, because he read it before he thought about it. And I was like, that's not what I meant. I just like how everybody that bought one is having a terrible time with them. My wife sends me videos about it all the time too, because it's one of my new like guilty pleasures is the Cybertruck and its problems. Ha
I see those all the time. And to anyone that has a Cybertruck, you might just want to put the earmuffs on right now. Uh, it is proof that people will buy whatever they're told is cool. That thing is ugly as shit. When we all thought the Aztec was as bad as a car could look, and you say, "Who the hell approved that?" Then the Cybertruck came along, and when someone said it looks like a pickup truck from PlayStation 1, and you're like, "Yep, nailed it."
Yeah. Polygons and all. Yep, I love it.
And that's what Mass should do. They need to do a new vehicle in every single wave. It's what they should do.
I hope. Like, well, let's see how they do with these
Yeah,
first.
that's true. I think they're already up against it because people are like, they saw those price points and went, no.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. I mean, right now I'm only all in on the Condor, the motorcycle with the, I can't remember the guy that comes with it name, but the dude in the yellow.
So you're all in on one figure?
I'm all in on that one.
I don't think that's what they call all in.
It's always funny, like when it comes up, I'm like, oh, I'm all in on that. And then all of a sudden you hear the price points, and you're like, well, maybe not that one or that one. like, I want that truck, believe me, but I don't want to spend $100 for it, and it's probably gonna, well, I mean,
It's
not
100.
that big. Yeah, it is. It's
well,
about
it's the same size as the original, so I mean, it's a decent size, but I mean,
it is, and it's one that I never had when I was a kid either, and it's like one of those ones where it's like, do I eat ramen for a couple of weeks or do I get that? like it's like decisions. Luckily, my wife is like, she's very supportive. Like she understands the YouTube thing, and I think part of it too is like if I ever do like start making money with the channel, she doesn't want to be left out of it. So she's gonna be like, yeah, you do it. Like she's got like 3 or 4 different channels right now too. So I mean,
well,
it's a good hobby.
We'll get to that. We're jumping ahead too far.
Okay.
Which is really par for the course there. So as a kid, you were growing up in, you said Illinois, correct?
Mostly in the Chicagoland area, yeah.
Did you have any siblings? I don't think you said.
I've got a brother and a sister, both from my stepmother and my dad. My brother was born 6 years after me, and then 6 years after him, they had my sister.
So no built-in like play friends. I mean, 6 years is huge. As
my brother, we were kind of play friends. Like we had a big Ghostbusters and GI Joe and He-Man collection. Like so, like we Saturday mornings we would play with action figures and watch cartoons, because we used to have Saturday morning cartoons. And
it went to about, I think, 11 o'clock, from like 7 to 11, and then you'd get the teenage programming that would be on for like an hour, and then you went right into Godzilla.
That's where I learned how a bill was made. Yeah.
Oh man, don't even bring that stuff up.
But so, and I had a best friend. Like when I lived in Texas, I had best buddies, but they weren't like my best friend. But out here, I had a buddy. He's a radio DJ now.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna say his name. I don't know if he used to do country actually on US 99 out here in Illinois, or out in the Illinois area. But yeah, he was one of the people that like we connected because he was an action figure junkie. Like we were talking Mask, like he had all of those. Like he had like the Technodrome. He didn't have like the flag or anything, but he had a bunch of different stuff. Like he had the GI Joe. Oh, what was it? It was like an oil drilling platform. The water command center. I know, right?
It's a battle platform.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
And so him and I bonded when we were kids. Like we were buddies. We were constantly like playing GI Joe, and his favorite was Snake Eyes, mine was Storm Shadow. And that was just like how we rolled. And he was definitely like one of my friends as far as Masters of the Universe and stuff like that. Like he just. and he was one of those kids that like found out about all of the little inside things about toys too.
Okay.
So like if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have like understood like flag points or uh like him and I are we are steel brigaders. My mom and his mom had arranged a thing where they, we made up each other's file cards, but we didn't realize that the other was getting this one too, right? It was one of those things like, oh, he wants this. And I remember filling out the card going, oh, this is kind of cool, man. I need to do this too. And then I got
I
one.
remember you and I talking about this. I'm like, we talked
Yeah.
about this.
And that is
before.
such a hideous figure. Like it looks like a dum-dum, like lollipop, like it's that helmet is ridiculous, but it's one of my favorite. Like I still have it. It's one of my favorite toys from when I was a kid, just because of that memory of like, man, my mom really she really got me there. And like my biological mom, she got me the flag. She went to like, I think she said 6 different stores. Like, and she was ex-military. So like she got me more excited about GI Joe. Like she
But
thought
that's
it was
cool.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm gonna text my daughter to let the dog out.
There you go. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, we
So I
just
have to
screamed at
yell.
mine.
Well, normally
She
I
argues with
do. And I thought he went down. I thought she let him out, but I never heard the door open. So
us.
we'll see if she actually reads it because he's starting to whimper here. All right. So do you remember like as a kid, like what your first memory of your first toy, and not like the first thing you fell in love with, but I know like a lot of people our age, adventure people, Matchbox, Hot Wheels. Do you remember like your first toys that like your first memory of your first toy that you played with?
So I do. And it's funny because I was trying to figure out what this toy was for the longest time. And then at one point, the Four Horsemen created a remake of it. And I was like,
Oh,
that's what it was. It was the Power Lord or whatever it was, that he was like, he had an orange space, a blue, like his face, you flipped, and the back of him was like this blue, almost Indian god looking thing. And yeah, that was like, I had this, and this was a big thing right before He-Man.
okay.
And I remember it was broken, but I loved the thing and I would not give it up. I had Amigo Spider-Man that was like that too. I had a few of things. And then at some point, my dad bought me He-Man, and it was that was the only thing I ever wanted to play with for the rest of my life at that time.
Okay.
So-
So my next question is usually, do you remember the first toy or first toy line you fell in love with? And
Yeah.
it sounds like it was He-Man.
Yeah, it was Masters, man. I was He-Man everything from that point on. Like I loved like Superman and Spider-Man. I was always a big Spider-Man fan, but He-Man was like, bro, he's got a sword and he's like super tough, like and strong, and nobody can beat him. That's awesome,
It
We
had nothing to do
loved
with
swords back then.
it had nothing to do with muscular shirtless men.
No, and definitely not nipples, because he didn't have any. Still doesn't. It's so weird to me that Motu like
It doesn't.
they don't have nipples. Like,
Well, it's also weird to me that the GI Joe team made a big deal about Big Boa being the first figure that had nipples on a classified. It's like, why can't you just do it and not say anything?
yeah, like why
It
is it
didn't
that
need to
big of
be
a deal?
pointed out. It didn't need to be pointed out.
Like they didn't pack him out like, ooh, yeah, like he wasn't doing nothing like that. Like, come on, like it's just normal, right? Like you're like, why are we afraid of this? It's I don't know. We're Americans. We're weird.
So, so then, what was it about He-Man that was it? The
He-Man was just.
cartoon? Was it?
I want to say like I had the toys before the cartoon,
Okay.
and I think I want to say I had Castle Grayskull before the cartoon too. I could be remembering that completely wrong, but I had my cousins, I remember, would come over and they're like, bro, you had, like, I have Beastman. I still have him. I had a Beastman, nobody else I knew had a Beastman. So it was like, dude, whoa, um I I I want to say I had a great uncle that worked in the toy industry, and that's how I kept getting a lot of, because like I had I had the T-Rex from the Powers of Grayskull line at the butt end of that, and like they didn't release that out here.
Hyper Scott saying, "I have nipples, Greg. You can't know me."
But yeah,
And we
like
got Render Boy jumping in and GI Jetman. Great to have you both here.
Yeah.
So then, when you look back at did you call it Masters of the Universe, or did you think it was called?
I just called it He-Man. I was like He-Man, you know, like the kids from the second Ghostbusters movie. He-Man, He-Man. Like that was what it was.
And that's why that I didn't realize that it was Masters of the Universe until Origins. I was like, this is called He-Man. Why did they change it? And then you said, and you're like,
I knew that, you know, since the movie, you know, like I think that was roughly around when I was like, oh yeah, it is Masters of the Universe. But
we have Action Figure Addict jumping in here, and again, I still think it's crazy that She-Ra completely killed He-Man.
I don't know if it was so much She-Ra. I want to say it was all of us aging out of it, like because a lot of us the GI Joe at that point, and GI Joe and Ghostbusters wound up taking up most of my collecting when I was a kid at that point.
Well, have you watched the Toys That Made Us?
Yes. Oh yeah, of course.
And again, anyone that's getting mad and they're frantically typing, it's a joke, but it is amazing how He-Man or Master of the Universe went sky high to the next year. I mean, it was the original crypto. All right, it is the original cryptocurrency. All right, it shot up and then it went down.
Well, for me, like I remember some of the figures that had me going, huh. I wasn't a big fan of Eldor figure. Like my buddy, the one that was also into action figures, he would always show me like these catalogs where I remember a catalog photo of like Hero and Eldor, and I was like, why does that guy have his robe tucked into his pants? That's not what is going on there? The Terror Claw's Skeletor in concept is awesome, but he's wearing a sexy pink tube top, and that's not. I was like, oh, I don't know about that, man.
You know, other than Battle Armor Skeletor, there weren't a lot of really cool other Skeletors. Skeletor and Battle Armor. Yeah. He-Man, on the other hand, again, Thunder Punch He-Man. I love that. I love the jingle. I love you put a cap in the back of them and it popped. I was so pissed that they didn't do that action feature in the Mattel Creations one. Like, you can do it. People would have loved it. Yeah. You know, and all you're doing is putting a caps in the back. And how
just the Origins, Origins had that where it just snapped and made a loud noise, you know?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. Like they didn't, you know, it wasn't the same. It stopped and it kind of made a noise, but I wanted the smell of the caps after it popped. Like gunpowder that you could smell. Were there other toy lines that you really played with other than Motu?
GI Joe. I mean, it was Motu and GI Joe for like the longest, and then when Ghostbusters came around, that was one of my big passions too. When I was a kid, like I loved Ghostbusters toys, but GI Joe, I would say, probably lasted me as far as like my interest in it the longest out of any of the toy lines.
But you said your mom got you the flag.
Mm-hmm.
She lived in Texas.
Yeah.
So was it stuck in Texas?
No, when she moved back, they disassembled it, right? And that was like I was like probably about 14 or 15, and at that point, I was sort of putting away my toys, and I never reassembled my flag. It ended up getting lost, and a bunch of parts got thrown away, and it was just
how do you lose a deck that's that big?
Well, it was all in giant, and some fell apart over time in crawl space, you know, like stuff like that. And it was just like,
I get it. I do.
Yeah. Like that was one of my biggest ever, with like not having and keeping the flag. It was just like, why? Like, it was the coolest toy I ever. There was no other toy, no other Christmas that beat out that year. And when I opened it, I wasn't even aware that the flag was available. I just
Okay.
knew that it was coming at some point, and I didn't even realize that it was out. And my mom, I didn't even tell my mom I wanted it, and she was just like, "That is awesome," and got it for me anyways.
You didn't need the kid didn't need to tell their parents that the thing was awesome. All right. So just Jeff here. Again, he pops in at the exact same time that you're talking about Ghostbusters. But Larry, Ghostbuster fans don't play with Ghostbusters toys. Again, and I know
That's
he's
'cause we don't
I know he's
have
just
them.
trying I know he's just trying to jab and rib, but I still stand by that the majority of Ghostbuster fans are not toy fans. They are more cosplay fans.
I will agree with you. Well, or just the movie fans, like
Or the movie.
yeah,
Just
like,
like G.I. Joe fans mostly are not cosplay fans. They're fans of the toys and not fans of the movie. And not
with,
fans of the movie. But it's not like there aren't cosplayers, right? That's why
right,
some
and they
of
freak
them
me out.
some got
When I
patches.
see GI Joe cosplayers, like, not necessarily GI Joe cosplayers, but like military cosplayers at like a toy fest. I'm like, are they cosplaying, or is that guy coming in to shoot us all up? Like,
And just Jeff says, both of you are wrong and dumb. I hate you.
you're kind of right,
But okay, the GI Joe thing, very true. I live 5 miles from a military base, so I see airmen, soldiers,
Nice.
mostly airmen and soldiers. Not a lot of the Navy, but we see some Navy, and I don't think a lot of Marines. A lot of airmen and a lot of soldiers. And if you don't know the difference, a soldier is in the Army, a Marine is a Marine, airman is obviously Air Force, and seamen.
Yeah.
um, so it is
I
true.
was
I
gonna
didn't
go
think
into
about it. Like, there's a lot of people. It's kind of like cosplaying a cop. I see lots of cops. So, are you a cop or are you cosplaying as a cop? Because you shouldn't have that badge if you're cosplaying one, at least not a real one. That's for sure. Killer King says Hyperdellic could cosplay as the Blue Meanie, and it would be epic as fuck. And
Thanks.
I knew you looked like somebody, and you do dye your hair. And now that Killer King said it, I'm not going to be able to not see it. Wow.
Maybe I'll have to do it now.
That is holy shit. Now I feel like I'm talking to the Blue Meanie. If you pull off a BWO shirt, if you stand up the Blue World Order, talk about everyone having to jump on the New World Order bandwagon there to do something. All right. So you said you went from Motu, you had G.I. Joe, but you said Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Now, you're just a little bit younger than I am.
Yeah.
And I can say for me, it was G.I. Well, it always started with Star Wars. And then, G.I. Joe, there was Motu, Transformers, and then obviously, in my opinion, Mask, like Mask and Thundercats. They're always they're second tier, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but
and I had a sprinkling of all of those, well, but not Thundercats.
Yeah, okay, but for me, I was done with toys, and I don't want to say done with toys, but I was done with like new toys by the time I didn't like Ghostbusters, to be honest. I didn't like not that I didn't like the movie, I didn't like the toys or anything. They just didn't appeal to me. But I was done with I was out of toys. I was skateboarding and doing stuff like that by the time Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, it sounds like you hit that point, but it also sounds like having a younger brother that's 6 years younger, it kind of kept you in it to where maybe you had that.
Yeah.
You had an excuse to play with toys.
Yeah.
When maybe your friends would have made fun of you, but you're like, oh, I'll play with my brother.
Well, and for me too, I knew, like, I always wanted to like collect cooler things when I was a kid, like as far as figures and stuff like that. But my parents never took me serious as a kid enough to like buy me some of the higher, quality like action figures and stuff like that. but I even got into turtles, and I was like, I mean, I still remember being in college and like I'd go shopping and check out the toy aisle. I wouldn't buy much. Like I remember having a bunch of those Beetlejuice action figures, and
Oh
I was
wow.
definitely too old to be, still playing with toys at that point, I feel like. But I mean, truth is, obviously we're never too old. And that was the thing. Like I was like, it was like,
But
well, it's not cool, so I
we
hid it.
didn't know that at the time.
Right.
We didn't know that you can never be too old to have toys. Most of us, Ed, and a few other people, yeah. But there's a time where you're just like, I don't do that. Although I'm
Yeah.
skateboarding, and I don't think that was considered much higher on the scale of being cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I think so. Like, there were some kids in high school where it was like, you're in high school, you're too old for toys, but like some people were like, yeah, that's kind of a cool action figure. Man, kids are lucky these days. And then you go back to the store and buy it later when you're not with your boys. Yeah.
That is true. Well,
Yeah.
so as you get into, like, let's say middle school, and I always say this, I feel like middle school for most of us is when we're all still playing with toys, but none of us are admitting it.
Right.
So we're going home, and then of course years later we find out, oh, we were all still playing with it. We could have continued to do this till we got into high school.
Right.
And most of us do put down the toys. There's other things going on.
Right.
There's a lot of things going on naturally with us.
That's right.
So in middle school, were you still playing with toys? Now again, you had your
Oh
younger
yeah.
brother, so
Yeah. No, most definitely. But by the time I was in middle school, I had moved out of my dad's house where I had my largest like toy collection,
okay.
and I moved in with my mom.
Now how
And
far
I
away was
didn't.
that?
What's that?
Were they close or
At that point, my mom was living in one of the suburbs of Chicago, and my dad was living in Chicago.
okay?
So she had moved back from Texas, and she came back up here, and I moved in with her. Um, yeah, and I mean that was like middle school. I still had a few things here and there, but like I still had all my like old GI Joe figures. But then once I was in high school, I remember shooting GI Joes off with bottle rockets and stuff. So I mean, I was just a little hoodlum. I know, it was terrible. Like looking back on it, I was like, oh man, I had an original Duke. I was like, what the heck?
I even do that. I took care of my GI Joes for the most part, but I look at
Yeah.
all the Star Wars, and I mean, I've told a story about Star Wars. Um, Once GI Joe came along, I had a lot of figures. I only had a couple vehicles, but I found out that on my windowsill, on the window, that if I took a Star Wars figure and I put his head on the sill, and probably all 40 pounds of me, probably what I weighed then, if I reached up to the top because the window went down and I slammed it down as hard as possible, the head would pop off, and I would count how many times it would bounce between the screen and the window. Usually three was like the most, right? So GI Joe decapitated every single one of my Star Wars figures.
Nice.
Now to look back at that and be like, wow. I mean, it's bad enough to look back and think when my
I have
dad said,
so much
"Well,
money now.
yeah." I look back when I wanted a GI Joe figure. They were $269, and Star Wars were a buck. And my dad saying, "You can get three of these or get one of those," and it's like, "I get three of those. I want one of these." And it's like, Dad, if you just would have bought that whole end cap and stuck it in a couple bins and didn't let any moisture get into it, we'd be rich. Because that stuff, it's not that it's worth that much; it sells for that much.
Right. Yeah, because there are people who are like all about the nostalgia. Like I've seen some crazy prices for like I'm looking up at some of my vintage Motu figures, and I've probably got about 25 of my vintage figures still. I've got a Scare Glow that glows amazingly still. Um, and
So
that one always,
did the original glow that well? Because the Origins one
yeah.
is amazing.
The Origins one definitely glows better, but this one, I mean, for as old as it is, it's not discolored or anything. I've kept it out of sunlight, and it glows. It's sitting up on my like it's glowing right now because I usually have a
Yeah.
black light going, but yeah, it still does great. And that one, I see the price of it fluctuates, and there's some crazy prices for like in package, seal not broken. It's like $2,000. You're like, what? I'm like, I'm like, oh man, I made all the wrong choices when I was a kid.
The Killer King, this is a really good point. He says, you played and enjoyed the figures. If we didn't destroy them, they wouldn't be worth dick. And you are absolutely correct.
That's true.
If so many of these degenerates didn't shoot bottle rockets at G.I. Joe, blow them up with M80s.
Are they going to go into space?
These ones that I have wouldn't be worth that much. I'd also be able to pick some up, let's say like a retro Flint when his arm breaks off, because I know I'm going to have to buy one at a much cheaper price. So I'm not sure if that's a good thing. And then Edward Stamenitsky says, "Hey everyone, I'm Edward. I just joined. I've been listening to you punk for about a month. I had to make sure you were a good guy before I joined." Well, thank you. I appreciate it tremendously, and I'm glad that I fooled you into thinking I'm a good guy.
That's right. Always vet your toy tubers. Always vet.
You know what? You're allowed to like anyone that you like, even if I don't like them. Of course, if I don't like them, it's probably a good reason. No, believe me, if everyone was like me, the world would be very, very. It wouldn't be the greatest world. I think I'm unique for specific reasons, but I don't want everyone to be like me, right? I mean, let's be honest. All right, so as we go into high school, are you still playing with toys? Now, I never say we collected toys as kids, because I think if you were collecting toys as a kid, you had a really shitty childhood because you were looking at things through plastic and not actually playing with them.
And I think by high school, I was still here and there every now and again. Like I'd probably pick up about maybe 10 figures a year, right? Like it doesn't seem like a lot, maybe once every month or so.
You see something that just kind of caught your eye and you're like, I like that.
They'd go up on my shelf or something like that. And just, it was, at that point I was collecting.
Yeah.
Right? And but thing like that. It was just like I would hit the toy aisle and be like, oh, that looks cool. Like Muted from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles line. It was like, bro, look at that thing. That's awesome. Like I gotta have that. So that Baxter Stockman Ninja Turtles, like stuff like that. And some of the Beetlejuice figures. Like I was like in high school, I want to say, when those came out, and I was able to be playing with those. I didn't have, like, it's funny like how your imagination changes as you get older. I still have like all my figures. Every time I clean them and rearrange them, I put them in different poses. Like I've got a Spider-Man up the shelf that's just playing guitar. And he's like sitting in between Fisto and Triclops. So I mean, I still like try to have a little bit of fun. Like I'll do like photos, and we didn't really have the internet when I was in high school, right? Like
no.
It existed, but I'm pretty sure it was still only military at that point. It wasn't until I was in college that we had like the internet.
Well, when did Gore invent the internet?
Oh God, I don't even remember. I want to say it was like 94, 95. Like I graduated in 95, and like I want to say we have like AOL or something like that at that.
Yeah, but don't you remember the Vice President Gore taking credit for it?
I do. The truth is, Gore did push for funding for the internet to be created, but man, he didn't. He should have never said that. It was so
right, a politician saying something dumb.
Right.
We're not going to get into that, but we know.
Right.
Quickly, Edward says, I love G.I. Joe, and this classified line is breaking me big time, but they're looking good. Yes, they are.
But they are looking good. Those are some fantastic. I'm super upset that I'm going to end up paying scalping prices for Crystal Ball. I know you don't like him, but like I wanted him so bad this morning, and
just keep watching because they'll probably pop up more on. He's gonna pop up more, especially on Walmart. Just keep
yeah,
watching. I don't.
yeah, and I'm sure eventually Big Bed Toy Store will have him too. So
That I'm not sure about.
sometimes,
Sometimes,
like
but this one sold out pretty quickly. Ed saying
yeah.
we certainly don't need a second punk in this world or this community. Ed, there are a lot more people that are probably saying that too.
What if it's like what was that movie Duplicity or whatever with Michael Keaton?
Oh man,
Like,
I've
what if
never
you make
seen
a
that. I
copy
know
of
what
the
you're talking
copy
about.
and it's a little special or something? I like Pizza Steve. Like I love that movie. That movie was terrible but great.
And Sherlock saying, jumping in with his membership chat saying, member for 5 months, so you get a
Fucking Phil Collins.
little drop. Fucking Phil Collins.
I love fucking Phil Collins.
And then one Bobby, I've never seen you before. I would remember this name saying, "Yo, Joe, great to have you. Love to have new people jumping in here." And I always like to highlight anyone, especially anyone new. I like to highlight anyone that's taking a second to even say hi. But if someone's new, so having 2 new people jump in here, I'm going to give you all the credit. Ron. It sounds so weird calling you Ron, but also seems weird calling you Hyperdellic.
I know, right?
Like, you're not even that hyper right now.
Most of the kids that I know still from like back in the day on the internet, like because I guess we'll probably end up getting there somewhere, but like I've got a lot of kids that are friends with me because of this game that I used to play. But they all call me Hyper. So, that's okay too.
All right. So so you're in high school. What are you doing? Are you still collecting stuff, or did you transition? I know a lot of people transition into comic books because it's easier to hide, or even easier to like, hey, I'm just reading. I like the stories. Or did you kind of put everything down altogether? Now you have a younger brother, 6 years younger, so
right.
You have a long time that you can lie about whose toys they are.
Well, I always like I would always like I it was funny when I go shopping, they're like, "Is that really for you?" And it's like, "Yeah, it's for me." Like, it's fine. I don't, I wasn't too bad about it. Like I kind of like thought of it as like, well, I'm collecting a couple of things and it might be worth, something in 10 years. And, man, thank God I invested in all of those Star Wars Power of the Force figures. Oof.
Well, we can
Glad
talk about that. Quickly.
I got R2D2 waiting for the next year or something. Oh man, that's coming up too.
So we have Fun Bobby saying, "Yeah, bro, you're the first reviewer I go for Joe's. Suck it, Bobby B. B's battle. Suck it." I hope he's watching. There are people I think that really think that Bobby B and I don't like each other. What they don't realize is him and I talk almost. Well, we don't talk all day, but we talk pretty much daily through Instagram. Or Facebook. So I think there's a lot of people think that like we really have a rivalry, and it's like this thing that's the furthest from the truth. But if I can rub it in his face that someone comes and watch me first, I'm gonna do it. And I'd expect nothing different from him, except he doesn't really do live streams. So I totally forget. So what are you doing through high school?
Well, if I'm fully honest, a lot of marijuana.
Okay.
I was more into music. I started to get a lot more into, listening to Floyd, Pink Floyd and a lot of classic rock. I was a big Zeppelin fan. I started to get, into all of that stuff a little bit more. And, the feminine side, going for the ladies. Say it like an old man. I liked the ladies. So it was like
I'm sorry. I was running through my head, and it's like, don't get me wrong, I love the ladies, but they don't belong in the newsroom. Anchorman is
Yeah.
such an, I don't even know if it's an underrated movie, but it is such an awesome movie with some amazing lines. And such a sexist movie. Veronica Corningstone.
Yeah.
I love the ladies, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
Right. Man, I hope they make a third one.
They're not. They can't because she can't act anymore.
Oh, why not?
Yeah, she has MS.
Oh,
So you can't do a movie without her. I mean, she's very integral.
yeah.
You know, she's very integral to obviously both of them. So I would hate for them to do another one. I would have loved a third one too, but it does suck that, you know, unfortunately. But they don't belong in the newsroom.
No. Yes.
Imagine
Everybody.
coming up with that line. Imagine coming up with that line and
See,
reading
it's so
that.
funny too. I have nothing but women that I live with, right? Like, and
No, CGI.
And my wife is constantly like, just like, you push it sometimes, but I can't help it. You have to make jokes. I mean, but yeah, high school was a lot of like just partying with my friends, and I didn't get too bad. I mean, I had my fun times going out chasing girls, doing stupid things. I mean, we were Jackass before Jackass happened. Like I remember driving well, I didn't drive it, but I stood by watching, cheering it on as my buddy drove his Ford Fiesta off of a ridge and jumped out right before it went in. And we were like, yeah, this is perfectly safe. It's okay. That's fine. Doing crazy, stupid stuff like that.
So if there's any skateboarders watching, I don't think you ever got into skateboarding, did you?
I had a lot of friends that were skateboarders when I was a kid, but I was like uncoordinated.
So one of the more influential skateboard videos is it's called it's the blind video days, and at the end of it they drive this big, I think it's a Cadillac, off this ridge, mountain, whatever it is, and they've done documentaries on it, and they're like, yeah, we were in Mexico and we just decided, all right, here's what we're going to do, and they just kind of like jimmied it and made it look like they all died, and at the end of it it shows them all doing like a trick in slow motion, and it has like their birth to death date, and a lot of people really thought they died, but
I mean, they could have.
That's what they did. Like there was no permit for it. We're just gonna drive this car off the ridge.
Yeah.
I never did anything like that. I'm glad. Well, now I do have to yell because obviously she's not going to read her messages.
Puppy needs to go.
1 second here.
Yeah, tell him.
I don't know who's going to be letting the dog out in 2 weeks when she's doing Thursday with a friend. At least I won't have to yell for her to do it. I'll be like, go let the dog out.
Yeah. Put the puppy out before? Well, you don't want to leave him outside. But yeah.
No, he goes out right before, and then he wants to come right back in, and he's just a pest. He hears me talking, and it's like, hey, I need to be part of this. But I don't think she let him out when I told her before, because she didn't really call him. So I think he just kind of sat around here and kind of whimpered. All right, so we're kind of talking about high school. Now, you said you got into Pink Floyd and stuff. Like, did you kind of associate with any type of specific group of kids? Like me, like again, I'm a punk. It's I'm a punk rocker with toys. That's
right. Well, okay, so like I loved punk when I was a kid too. I was big into like the Ramones and the Dead Kennedys, groups like that. Like, so I mean, I was all over the place. Like heavy metal, punk, classic rock, listened to a lot of different things. And I mean, I grew up in an area called Chicago Heights, which was a very, very culturally mixed area. So, I mean, I grew up with a lot of rap and everything like that too. hip hop and you know all of those, all of the I guess black culture music genres like um lots of ska when I was a kid too. Yeah, I loved ska. That was
That
some of my favorite.
sucks.
I was like, this stuff's great.
I hated ska.
No, yeah, you
And,
didn't
and
know.
you know what? As I got older, I started to enjoy some of the bands
Yeah, so some
that
of them
like
are good. Like I wasn't that big into like the crazy heavy like skinhead ska, but like yeah, I was all over the
that
place.
was
So
called
like
Oi. That was called Oi.
yeah, some oi boys. Uh so I had friends that were like from every walk of life. Like, I was friends with like the anti-racist skinheads, and I was friends with, a bunch of black kids, and my one of my best friends was Mexican, it was just like, and all the white kids and Italian kids and all of that stuff. Um it was just, I was all over the place, punks, jocks, all of those little clicky things. There I had buddies in every group, and uh tended to end up like where I went to school, lots of people just kind of hung out together, period. So it was funny as I got older, in college, and it for a while there when I was in high school, I thought maybe we were getting to a point in this country where racism wasn't a big deal, and people were losing their
Why
the people,
is racism still around?
right.
I haven't noticed.
I feel like it took like a huge jump back into the mainstream again, and it's
They
like,
went
man,
crypto. They went
yeah,
crypto.
right, and I was like, my wife and I talk about this all the time. It was like I felt like we were getting somewhere. I don't know what happened. Like I thought we were like at a point where we could all kumbaya, sit down by a fire and drink beers, and everybody was cool no matter what color your skin was and what background you were. Like I think a lot of that was influenced by like the punk scene and the
Okay.
the anti-racist skinhead kids. I mean, and my parents all raised me, treat people how they act, not what they look like or what color their skin is, or this and that, whatever their nationality is, because all of that stuff is inconsequential in the end. It's
So Eric Thurman
who you are.
asking what do you remember what your first concert was?
Technically, my first concert was Pink Floyd. It was the Animals tour, 1977. I was inside my mother's womb at the time, though, so I didn't pay for tickets. I may have had a beer, who knows? But
Well, I think it's pretty safe to say you did.
but the first concert I remember paying to go see was, I want to say it was Steve Miller Band. Ooh, man, yeah, I think it was Steve Miller Band.
That is so funny that you say that because
And he rapped in the middle of Fly Like an Eagle, and nobody liked it. We were all
it's
really
funny that
upset.
you say that. We were just watching something before I came up and took my nap, and that's not the actor was singing it, and Olivia was like, "What is that?" And I'm like, I couldn't think of who the band was, but I knew who it was. And the moment you said that, I went, "That's who it was."
Steve Miller Band, yeah,
And
yeah.
and Mother Slug here. How old are you that your
Ooh,
first concert
nice.
was Jim Morrison?
The Doors,
The
wow.
Door. Like, when did Jim Morrison died? I think before I was born.
Yeah,
I'm not questioning,
maybe.
your age here, but
I
goddamn.
think I don't remember.
And Oz is
Hey,
jumping
what's
in here.
going on, bro?
That's crazy though. Mother Slug says, I really want to know, no punk, what's with the false teeth?
Who's got false teeth? Oh, nice.
We'll just say I saw them on Amazon and they reminded me of somebody, so I ordered them. We'll just leave it at that.
Right.
They're like $6. We buy a lot of stupid stuff.
Yeah. Amazon's good for that.
They are. It's even worse when you think of something and then you're like, I should look for this. Why? I don't know. Because I'm a
Does this
dick.
exist? And then
Does
Amazon's
it
like,
exist?
"Here's
That's
my beer."
So as you go through high school, how did you do well in high school? Like that you graduated?
Oh God, no. I mean, I graduated, but
Okay.
I was such a slacker in high school. Like I was in honors classes, but I was like barely passing them all.
Oh, that's so better than I look at my daughter. She's in all honors or advanced, and she wants to get all A's. She wants to be a lawyer. She wants to go to University of Michigan.
Yeah. There you go.
Awesome. Like that's what she wants to do. There's no pressure. There's no pressure from me.
Right.
For her to get all A's. That's what she wants to do. I want my kids to do well, obviously. And her mom doesn't need to pressure her, which is good because I think sometimes she can be a little overbearing. And I know because my daughter will tell me that, but we don't need to worry about that, which is good because it's already hard enough as it is. But when you have a kid that's like, I want to get all A's, you're like, thank goodness, I don't have to push you to get A's and B's. Like you have, this is your direction that you want to do. So after you graduated, what did you go on? Did you go right into the workforce? Did you go to college?
No, my mom forced me to go to college right away. There was a point where I was thinking about I was gonna try and take a job at Ford because there was a Ford planned out by us, and I honestly probably should have because I'd be retired right now.
Oh man, that's odd because my dad worked at Dodge Truck, and my dad, I remember as I was about to graduate, he said, I can probably get you in, but I don't want you doing this the rest of your life.
Yeah, auto industry. Well, it's funny because later on I did end up working in the auto industry for a manufacturer. Like 11 years, I was quality control for a company that made seats for Ford. So, and being in the auto industry is a tough thing, man. People are insane in the auto industry. Like you think your boss is mean now? Go work in the auto industry. Those guys are mean.
Quickly, Killer King is saying his first concert was Insane Clown Posse.
Oh no, we got juggalos.
I cannot believe that there are people outside of Michigan that know who they are. And I can't believe that the people in Michigan helped get them outside of Michigan.
I am not a juggalo. I'm just going to say that, but I have a lot of friends that are.
I am so shocked that many people. Now, I will say this. I watched their wrestling. I remember going to one of their wrestling events, and they could wrestle. And I knew about this before they were in the WWF or WWE, whatever you want to call it. I just cannot believe that I can't believe people enjoyed that music. But then again, if people heard the early Kid Rock stuff, which I think Kid Rock is awful, you would go, what the hell is this? And kids around here loved it. And all I'll say is yodeling in the valley. Like, if you know what it is, you know how awful. Oh, man. How awful it was. I don't know how that came from.
That's okay.
But it was awful.
Just don't do
And then Allison jumping in here saying greetings.
What's up?
All right. So your mom made you go to okay.
Yeah, so I went to college.
Okay. Old Juggalo, and I'm not far, border of Ohio, Michigan. All right. So I guess that you guys could have them.
I'm like, okay? I don't want to go to a concert and get sprayed with Faygo soda. I don't.
How about this? You give us the Jeep plant, and you can have all the fucking Juggalos. I'll throw in fucking Kid Rock.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
You can have it all. Yeah. Well, if you were that close to Michigan, then oh my God, it was so bad. I remember kids like loving it in high school. I'm like, what is this? And I hear it. I'm like, this is just absolute trash. And I still stand by it. And the worst thing is he hasn't made better music since. I don't care how much money he's made, he still has not made better music.
He's staying true to the music. But yeah, I went to college. I went to a community college out here, a little place called Prairie State College, which was, I went for graphic design, And so like anything vocational, they had great instructors. Like, and my photo instructors and my graphic design instructors were all really cool people that were really talented artists working in the field, all successful folks. So it was like, I liked it. I enjoyed the art community and that whole art, thing that was going on. And I was always artistic when I was a kid, and I wanted to be an artist, but I didn't want to be a starving artist. So graphic design seemed like the natural thing to do.
It seemed like that it would make more sense.
Right. And I mean, I honestly like graphic design was like, I'm glad that I did it, and I'm glad like that I went to school for all of that. Like later I would go back to school and try to work on a teaching degree, but then I got out of that too. But when I was a graphic designer, I did it for a while, and then the .com bubble burst, and there was all these graphic designers out there trying to find work and get jobs and stuff like that. And I mean, nowadays most of graphic design is being done by AI. So it's like, when I saw that coming back then and was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And it was for a long time I was like freelancing and like waiting tables in miscellaneous places, which oddly I worked at Dick's Last Resort. And if anybody knows what Dick's Last Resort is, you will understand. Like I was a server at this place, and basically Dick's was like a theme restaurant, but like not like TGI Fridays. I didn't have to sing for anybody. My job was to be as rude and nasty as I could to my customers, and I loved it. It was I think that was the best job I ever had in my life. Like if it had better insurance, I'd probably go back to it, but it was so fun. I got to yell at old people all the time, and it made me happy. I did that for a little while. Then I was like, I did some do-gooding. I was a political canvasser for a bit. And like during this whole period, I wasn't collecting toys at all. I was podunk broke as heck, living in Chicago with like a bunch of hippies in an apartment building, and it was just like, I was going from like one life search job to another. And, I tutored, I met a lot of cool people like during this whole entire time. And it was just like that whole, like trying to figure out who the heck I was kind of thing. Eventually, like I said, I moved back in with my mom, and I went back to school with the help from my dad to become a teacher. And just before I became a teacher, I was like burning out in school. It was driving me crazy. Like I was so tired of just being in school, and like a job offer to be the manager at this gas station that I was working at came in, and I took that. And then I did that for 3 years, and I loved the heck out of that too. Like I think that was the last time I remember enjoying a job, weird as it is. Like it's weird, but I loved being a store manager. It was bizarre. But we wound up selling the store. The new owners decided to just be family run, period. So I wound up getting this job with this, in this auto industry company. And I mean, I was done trying to find myself as like a career person. Like this career is going to define who I am, or this one and that. And I fell into this whole production thing, and I eventually became a quality inspector. And over the next, over those 11 years, I worked in the quality department, and, and I found that I loved the heck out of that. So now I do that for a candy company. And it's people are nicer than in the auto industry, but it all, everything has its own problems, right? so it's that's where I'm at these days. And so I started to like, a few years ago, I was collecting toys again, and my wife was like, I don't get it, but you know what, if it's making you happy, it's making you happy. Because like He-Man came back out, and I was like, man, I need to start picking stuff up.
You mentioned the Power of the Force figures.
Yeah.
So were you collecting in '95 when Power of the Force
I
You would have still been
was
in high school. You would have been
was it
just finished
95?
95. Oh, believe
Was
me,
it?
we know it very well.
Yeah, I didn't collect, like I didn't end up with any of the figures. I never got Hero. My friend did. He got Hero and
I'm talking Star Wars, Power of the Force.
oh no. Oh, Power of the Force. Sorry. Thought you were talking about Powers of Grayskull. No,
Oh,
I didn't collect any. I was just
oh,
joking.
okay.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
It was
Although
huge.
when Phantom
Huge.
Menace came out, I bought a few things. I was obsessed with Darth
Well, get
Maul.
ready
So
because that's what we're doing this year. We're
yeah.
doing
Oh, okay.
yeah. So I don't know if Allison knows this yet, but we're going to be doing for May the Power of the Fourth, which is for May. We're going to be reviewing the prequel figures.
Yeah.
From any 3 episodes. That way,
Okay.
we're kind of keeping in line from doing Power of the Force. But anyway, if anyone is interested of doing a review on an old ass figure that doesn't cost very much, that's what we're doing this year. So I got to start getting that situated. But anyway, so you did get the
I had one of those ones that like
Phantom
you
Menace,
had like the little chip thing and
yes.
it made noise. Yeah, I remember those. I had a couple of those.
You mean the
I want
shaver?
to say I got R2D2 and I had R2D2, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Maul. And that Darth Maul figure was cool. Like, I mean, I was just like, oh, dude, these are awesome. But I was in college at the time and all of that stuff. And like, it was like right after high school. So I know what was Phantom Menace was what,
99. 99.
94 maybe? Or no,
No,
not
99.
94.
No,
Sorry, yeah,
Phantom,
99. You're right.
yeah,
You're right. Yeah.
99. I think they come out every year or I think they come out every 2 years. So 99, 2001,
Something like that.
2003, I think.
Yeah. I think I was already a graphic designer by the time the second movie came out. I remember standing in line for that first one. And the first one was all right.
I really like the Phantom Menace. I really do.
I like the version where they cut Jar Jar out. That's always my favorite. Like it makes the movie a little bit less cringy in places. But yeah, that one and then was it Revenge of the Sith? That's my favorite one out of them all. Like, even the young one. That's like the best scene ever.
I think that's the closest one to the originals of the 3.
Yeah.
Again, I like Revenge of the Sith. I like the Phantom Menace. I will watch Attack of the Clones. It has some good parts, but it's by far the worst of the 3. I don't care what anyone says.
It's so all over the place.
Yeah,
it's
there's some good scenes. Like when some of the fight scenes, the Jango Fett versus Obi-Wan scene, pretty cool. I love that where they drop the sonic depth charge and everything goes quiet. Like if you have a nice sound system, that whole thing, like, it's just really cool. But then there's just some that it's like, wait, did you put it wasn't the Backstreet Boys, was it? It was In Sync as a couple of the Jedi because they wanted to be Jedi. Like, really, come on. I hope they kill those ones. All right, so but as you got out, you said you weren't really collecting.
Yeah, I wasn't really collecting until
how do you meet your wife? How long have you been with her?
What's that? With my wife? Oh, we've been married 13 years this year. It'll be 13.
And how long were you with her before that?
Probably about 2-3 years. And then we got married.
Okay. Then you have 2 kids, correct?
We have 2 kids. Well, one is my stepdaughter. She's my older daughter. She broke my heart. She lives in Tennessee now, and she's far, far away. She got married. She was in the military, and she got married, bought a house, settled down. Has no plans on having kids. So, the one good thing out of all of it, and I still don't get it. Like, I want grandkids. What the heck?
Hey, again, I was with my ex for 14 years. I got with her. I think we talked about this when we when we did the show. She was, Emily was 5, and she never knew her dad. I raised her.
Yeah.
And, obviously when her mom and I split up, it was kind of, she took her mom's side, and after a little bit of time, everything came back around, and now she moved to California with her boyfriend. And I send her and Olivia stuff all the time. It's usually dog stuff on Instagram. It's usually dog stuff.
Hey man, that's helpful. Now she's paying bills. She knows.
Yeah. Well, she has 2 dogs. They actually got a dog before they moved, and then her boyfriend was sent to Florida to help do cleanup, because that's what he does. And he came up here for Christmas, which she couldn't come, but he came up here for Christmas to see his family. So he came over, and his brother bought a new dog, but didn't want it, so he gave it to him. And he's like, I'm gonna surprise her. And we were like, no, you need to let her know before you walk in with a second dog. And I think that he made it till the next day before he was about to fly out that, yeah, I got another dog. But her mom and I were like, bad idea. No, I think I'm like, you're in the hotel, you're FaceTiming or Skyping or whatever it is. You don't think she's gonna not notice that thing flying around 100 miles an hour? Like, she might notice for the next month while you're down there still doing work that, why is there another dog there? Because I have the other one here. And it looks nothing like it.
Yeah.
And she loves the dog, but yeah, Darren, you're right. It was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like, you don't show up and be like, hey, haven't seen you in months. Look what I also got.
Here's a dog. That's what my mother-in-law is not allowed to come to our house with cardboard boxes anymore, because that's how we have like 5 animals in my house. I've got 3 cats and 2 chihuahuas, so I've got 5 cats, right? So
you see her coming up with the box, and you just look at your wife, tell her to leave. Just tell her to leave.
No, it like, okay, so like the birthday of the year before my daughter was born, my wife and I had been trying for like 2 years to have a kid. And so we were getting ready for I was having a barbecue for my birthday. And I got off work, got home, my wife shows me the tests, and I'm all like, oh, I'm gonna be a dad, blah blah blah, and I'm like, all right, well, I got to get ready. We can't tell anybody yet, because we didn't, we hadn't done the doctor visit and all of that stuff and made sure. So we didn't want to like pump people up, and then, but so I'm doing great. I'm fantastic. I'm like, I'm getting ready for the barbecue. I'm like, all right, I got to go to the bathroom. She's like, oh, my mom just showed up. I'll go see what she's doing. And then she runs downstairs, and she comes back up, and she goes, Buddha's here. That's my mother-in-law's name. We call her Buddha. And
I hope there's a reason.
Yeah, we're Polish, right? And in Polish, Busha means grandma, but my oldest nephew couldn't say it, and he'd always call her Buta. And so now, and people think we're like calling her like, oh, Buddha, that Buddha. And no, it's different. But yeah, my wife runs back upstairs like 10 minutes later. I'm still in the bathroom. I'm, doing my biz. And she's like, Buddha's here. She's got a gift for you. I was like, if it's a cardboard box, tell her to go away. And my wife was silent, didn't say a thing, but I could hear that she was, how you know that somebody hadn't moved yet? You could tell that they're still there. And I was like, she's got a cardboard box, doesn't she? And she's like, you should come downstairs as soon as you can. And she's like running away. And I walk outside, and here's this tiny little white, size of my hand chihuahua. And she's like, here, hold it. Don't you want it? I'm sitting here like going, oh man, I'm going to have, I got, we had just moved into our house like a couple of years before that. I made my daughter and my wife promise me that I was going to have a poop-free yard for at least 5 years. And it was only 2 years into that 5 years. And I should have known, And I'm like, they're like, why? What do you want? I'm like, I want to be able to walk around barefoot and not worry about it. Like, and they're chihuahuas, so they're like this big. You don't see those, and it's terrible. And I was like, he was absolutely the cutest little damn dog ever. And I'm just like, yeah, of course I want that. So now I have Max. I got a tiny little deaf white chihuahua who I yell at all the time. And I'm just like, why am I yelling at him? He can't hear me.
Yeah. So he's really deaf, or does he just ignore you?
Yeah. Oh no, deaf as a doornail. You could put a vacuum cleaner right next to his head while he's sleeping. He won't even know. And my daughter, for the longest time, she was like, oh, poor guy. And I'm like, poor guy, he doesn't know any better. He's fine. Look at him. He's tail's wagging. He's okay. Just give him some treats. He'll be all right. But yeah, he's my little dude. My brother-in-law had one of his cousins that just recently died. And he did that whole, I'm just gonna go out and look at animals. And my sister-in-law was like, just look, right? And $2,000 later, and a half hour ahead, he's coming home with a new puppy. So yeah, we're stupid about animals in our family. I've told him no more.
This guy came because a friend posted, hey, is anyone interested in a dog? And I asked about it, and I don't know why, because it was shortly after my ex and I had split up. She took our old dog, which meant after school, or I'm sorry, after work, if I didn't have the kids, I could go do whatever I wanted, which was mostly go skateboarding. But I didn't have to go home. And I asked about the dog. And she's like, you interested? I was like, no, not at all. And then I was up at her work. She worked at a restaurant. And I'd go up there on Sundays when she worked. And I didn't have the kids in the morning and eat for free. But they had a patio. And the girl that showed the dog or had the dog, she also worked there. And she was there. And Tina goes, hey, that dog's here if you want to see it. Like, I don't want to see the dog. And then she came back and I go, okay, I want to see the dog. And he was it was awesome. Just loving. And I said, well, I go, can you be up here next week? Because I have to bring my kids up and let's see how they interact.
Yeah.
Yep. And the kids, we went up there and they played. And I was like, do you want the dog? And they're like, what? I was like, if you want the dog, it's ours. She still had to get it. She still had to get him fixed and everything. He was, I think, 8 months old, something like that. And they're like, yeah. So I said, all right. So somehow I ended up with a dog, which I absolutely love, and seriously one of the best things because he's been there through some. It was a rough time. There's been some rough patches, and not just dealing with my ex. Not that her and I actually have a good relationship. I will say this though.
Good.
She had a very poor idea of pit bulls at the time. Oh. And after I dropped the kids off that day, because they went back to her house, I'm at the skate park, and they had told her that we were getting a pit bull. Yeah. And I wish I still had the text just coming in, yelling at me. If anything happens to the kids, she'll never boom, boom, boom. I'm like, I would not agree to take this dog if I thought that it was whatever.
See, that's why you call them terrier mix, like the shelters do.
I can tell you this. She absolutely loves this dog.
Yeah.
He loves her.
Yeah. Pitties are great.
And her opinion has completely changed, that she realizes that. And of course, she'll say, I never thought that. And I'll say all the time, like every time he's so excited, and I'll go, she didn't even want me to get you, Roman. My daughter will say it too, which pisses her off.
Yeah. No, I love pit bulls. Pit bulls are great. Especially if they're raised by the right people, like loved and socialized. They're the most friendly and happy dogs you'll ever meet. Like, they're sweet. It's only when people are really nasty to them that
there's a reason why they're called nanny dogs.
Dogs being sick of the world.
Yeah. Well, his dog. Yeah, his dog was just really sick not too long ago.
Sorry.
Well, he's better now. So, see, he got better. You're supposed to add that all, not.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, bro. Oh, well, now I'm not sorry. You're fine. Okay, suck it up. Put some dirt on that and walk it off.
Suck it up, all right? You've had enough time to get over it. Your dog has.
Right.
All right, so you get this tiny dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
We
now
got a tiny dog.
Have you ever seen the reel on Instagram where the girl's like, she's trying to take her dog in it? It's just a tiny dog. Have you ever seen it? Oh, when I find it, because it'll pop up, especially now that I said it, the iPhone is listening, going, "Oh, you want to see that?" It's hilarious because she sings the song, and it's like there's an airplane one, and there's also one where she's walking into the grocery store, and like she has like this accent, but she's talking to herself because herself is like the other, like she's like, "You can't bring that in here," and she's like, "It's just a tiny dog. They allow tiny people, right?" And like she's singing a whole song about it. When I find it, I'll send it to you. It's hilarious. Every time I see it, I just die laughing.
Oh, my wife took a great picture of me and the little tiny dog, and it's like I'm a big boy, and this tiny little white dog hanging out with me. It looks ridiculous. Like I should have been like covered in bling and stuff too. You know, I just look gangster right there.
Yeah.
So it's funny when we take them for walks because people just like they're like, that makes sense. Big dude with a beard walking a tiny little white dog. Yep. Mm-hmm.
There's a guy here. He has a smaller dog, not that size, a little bit smaller than a Bichon, I would say.
Yeah.
And I'll see him walking around, and it never fails. I'll see him walking the dog, and by the end of it, he is carrying the dog home. And all I could think was like, why do you walk this far? You know the dog doesn't make it back.
That's my dog. That's my dog. So like it's funny because like me and my brother-in-law, we get ribbed because we're the Chihuahua dads, right? Like I'm not as bad as he was, but like he had two of them, and the littler one recently died. But that little one would sit on his shoulder when he was like laying on the couch like this, like just chilling. You'd come by him, he'd be like, you know, like the craziest teeth thinking. So like for Christmas last year, I bought him this sling that you can carry your dog around. And I go, listen, I also bought myself one. So I have to take it with me on walks because the little guy, he'll get to the point where you're like pulling him and like the one day I almost dragged him a little bit and I was just like, you're not gonna walk anymore, are you? And he's just sitting there looking up at me and I'm like, I'm here.
The best is when you see somebody and their dog has just quit walking and they have to carry it, and it's the size of Roman. So it's like a 60 or 70 pound pit bull, and you're like, you're fucking kidding me, right?
Scrawny
like,
little
why
lady.
did you walk this far? That thing, again, it's not even carrying 70 pounds. It's 70 pounds of dead weight.
Yeah.
And there is nothing more dead weight than a dog when they're done. Not a dead human, but when a dog quits walking, it is the most dead weight ever. And then you're going to carry a 70-pound one, like... And they don't even like being carried, but they're like. Anyway, I don't know how we got on the topic.
I know, man. Listen, I love my dog. He's like my little buddy. His sister is great too. Like when they pass, I am genuinely going to be a sad person.
I try not to think about it. And...
He's like my toy. He is like one of my toys. Like, I mean, he's the size of my toy. I mean, he's barely bigger than Battle Cat. So
that is crazy. I've never had a big dog. I grew up, we had a Shih Tzu, and she was like 18 before she started having seizures, and my dad, put her down. And then I didn't have any other animals. We never had another one. Because I think I moved out because I remember we were coming back, and my dad was out of town, and he's like, "Hey, can you come by and let Muffy out and walk?" And she started having seizures, and then she popped back up like nothing. Now Muffy had one eye since she was about 3 years old, so she was the one-eyed wonder. She walking, she was getting older, right? 18 years old, long. And I went back.
One-eyed wonder. I like it.
That's exactly what I used to call her. And I went to I'd go to work and I worked around my dad's house, but then I had to drive home, which was about 45 minutes. So I remember I told him, I said, you know what? I go, I think it's about time. She's starting to suffer and she's having these, I could tell she's having seizures. And the next week we were going there for something, me and my ex, not my kid's mother, but before this. And he goes, don't look for Muffy. She won't be here. And I went, oh, where's she at? He goes, well, you said it was time. And I went, huh? And he goes, yeah, I took her and had her put down. And I went, what?
Oh.
Like, you couldn't even we've had the dog for 18 years.
Wow. That's a
we go there too. And again, I hadn't moved everything out yet. Like, I just kind of eventually moved in with this girl. So I still had a room and everything. And I was downstairs and I remember Michelle was like, you okay? I'm like, it's really like she's not here. Like I didn't get to say goodbye to her. And why would you do that?
And we know they're gonna die, and we still keep on taking in animals. I don't know why the heck you do this.
And the funniest thing is that him and his wife, they ended up getting another Bichon. They got a Bichon together. This one was from my grandmother, my mom's mom. So they got this Bichon, and they had I think Biscuit was like 18 or 19 years old, and he was bad, like way worse than Muffy. Like he couldn't bend, he couldn't hear, he couldn't see.
So he just bad. Is that like
worse, way worse?
Oh,
like if he was sitting on your lap, he'd jump off the chair, but his legs didn't bend, so it was like dropping a stuffed animal of a dog on the ground. But he'd move his bed where he needed to go, and they finally said, it's time. They were doing medicine for him and everything. And I'm talking to them, and my stepmom is like, my stepmom and my stepsister was like, oh, he was a mess. He was a complete mess when they took him. Like, he had an accident, I think, pulling out. He ran into someone after, I'm like, but our dog, you just like, oh yeah, don't look for Muffy when you come over. She's not here. Where's she at, Dad? I'll get rid of her. What? Yeah, put her down. You said it was time. It's like, and then this dog, he had just as long, but whatever.
Oh, and
that goes back to what we were talking about before we got on, how our parents have they remember things differently.
Right. Yeah.
They remember things a little differently. So on from the dog stuff here. Yeah. How'd you meet your wife?
On an online dating app. Plenty of Fish, actually. I met her on Plenty of Fish.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. I know, right? Well, and I had been dating around for a while. I had just gotten out of a 3-year relationship, maybe 6 months prior. Okay. I was living with the ex-girlfriend and everything, and I took some time to myself, and then I started looking around, and I didn't want to date anybody at a bar or anything like that, because that just it
so Plenty of Fish. Okay.
Well, so but the thing about Plenty of Fish though was that I made my profile. I was as honest about it as possible. I even said I'm not necessarily looking for dates. I'm looking for people to hang out with, friends, this and that. I'm not looking for, and I wasn't looking for physical or anything like that necessarily. I just, I was like, I need to go out and start having fun again. Right. Cause I hadn't 3 years of just being a homebody because my ex-girlfriend was a little on the crazy side, and if I did anything, it was, I got to explain for 10 days, so, it was like, okay, I'm rediscovering how to live life again. And I met my wife, and it was funny. We talked for 3 months before we even met. And we would talk on the phone or we would message back. And one of the things that got me about her was I go, so how do I know you're not a 54-year-old trucker named Larry or something like that? And then she goes,
you
don't.
Had to go with Larry. You couldn't all the other names.
I'm pretty sure I actually used the name Larry though. She goes, oh, you don't. And I was like, so are you gonna like try and like shove a broomstick on my butt or something? She's like, if that's what you're into. And after that, it was just like we had such a good relationship, and we could talk for hours about crazy things. Like, and it's so funny too because like my wife is like she's the only Polish girl I ever dated. She's more Polish than I am. Like I grew up 50% Polish and she's 100%. And so my daughter is more Polish than I am. It's crazy. But like I I had never dated anybody Polish. Most of the girls that I dated black girls, Latino girls, I was all over the spectrum. And like, so it's just kind of funny that I wound up with a Polish girl, like, because my grandmother always used to tell me when I was young, you just need to find yourself a good Polish girl. I'm like, okay, grandma. And I found myself a good Polish girl. She makes me pierogies and also fat. So like I was 100 pounds lighter when I met her. So I obviously am happy enough, and our life is not, a fairy tale. We have our realities. We have our harder times. We, both of us wrestle with mental health. I definitely suffer hardcore from depression, like,
Okay.
but it stems from the fact that I have ADHD, and I didn't know that I had ADHD until I was like 31. So like meeting my wife, she also has ADHD, but she didn't know it until we started dating. And she kind of suspected it. And she was like, so how do I know if I have ADHD? And I was like, well, you take one of these. And I gave her one of my Vyvanse. And I go, if you take a nap on this, you've got ADHD. I was like, she's like, why? I was like, because it's speed. I was like,
isn't that weird how
yeah.
The way that they, not always, but a lot of the stuff to slow down someone on ADHD, their mind is through a stimulant.
Yeah, well,
because my son has it, and he won't take medicine anymore, and it has not been helpful for him. It hasn't been helpful for him. It's actually been detrimental. But at this age, you can't get him to go back on it.
And and he's probably, in my opinion, he's probably better off. I mean, I think we over medicate in kids with ADHD.
I agree.
I think that the dosages need to be reviewed a little better. Because like when they first put me on like the lowest dose of like whatever it was I was on, I always thought it was too much. It was just like, this is way more than I probably need. But like for some people it works out great. For me, I didn't have a good experience on ADHD drugs. It was I was always crabby and tired because of it, like it wore me out after a while. So I wholeheartedly understand that situation too. But yeah, so me and my wife are both kind of, mental health advocates whenever we can be. She actually used to do like the suicide prevention awareness walks out in our neighborhood, like, or out in our like city. She would do the big, meetings where they did like a marathon and all that stuff.
Okay.
So like we were heavily involved in that kind of stuff too. I've always been like one of those kinds of people that tries to, do a little bit of charity here and there, just because no matter how poor I've been, I have been lucky, I have been, I can still eat, we're by no means rich these days, and we make a decent amount of money. But it's, I can buy toys and I can buy equipment for my channel and stuff like that. We get my daughter is spoiled like crazy, my wife, she gets whatever the heck she wants. We're lucky, so it's always,
I love how you said that, because that was one of the biggest downfalls with my ex and I, is that she always looked at everything we didn't have.
Yeah.
And never at what we had.
She does that too.
What?
My wife does that too, but
well, you can look at things, but like when you're constantly pointing out everything you don't have.
Yeah.
But it was like, we have a roof over our head. Our kids are healthy. There's food on the table. There's clothes on the back. Stop looking at everything we don't have And look at how much more we have than other people. There's always going to be people. There's always going to be someone that has more than you. All right, we're never going to be Bezos.
Yeah,
you know,
always.
like we're not.
Well, and the longer you watch this kind of stuff, you see that being rich doesn't solve everything either. I mean, look at Elon Musk. That guy's a mess.
Yeah, Clint. And she didn't understand. And we have a flag. She didn't get as excited as I did.
Oh yeah.
We don't need a kitchen table. We can eat on the flag. Who am I kidding?
Right.
You can't eat on my flag. Get the fuck out of here. I have a very long kitchen table, a very long Amish built kitchen table. I think my flag is actually longer. It might be longer than it.
Dude, that thing took up a lot of space, man. I had one in my bedroom. I think I do. I have the picture sitting right here.
Oh man, I don't have any pictures. There's one.
That was me opening it.
Yep, that's there's one picture of the box.
There's me doing that pimp pose right there.
I can see a microphone in it too. I need a microphone.
Anyone got an extra microphone? I remember that. Yeah, it had the little.
It has a clip for it in it.
Everything when we were kids had a microphone. That was how they made it like electronic.
I don't care what anyone says. It was not the greatest toy. First off, it wasn't a vehicle. It was a playset. And you were the envy. If you had it, you were the envy.
Oh yeah.
But you're right. If once it was somewhere, that's where it's at.
Yeah, that wasn't unless you were smart and set it up on like boards.
That's what my dad.
That was not going anywhere.
When we built it in the basement, it sat on an old door that he had. So if I needed to push it against the wall or move it out, because obviously knows that those trestles weren't going to hold too much. But when I would take it apart,
underneath.
Yeah, when I would take it apart and move it upstairs, it just sat on the carpet. So you weren't able to move it. Like, this is where I'm going to have it for the foreseeable future. And as a kid, that could be, a month, and it seemed like forever. But then you realize you have to walk around it. It's
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're 7.5 feet long, but people never take into account how wide it is, and then how tall it was.
Yeah, I had barely enough room to get out of bed with that thing in my room. But I was like, I love that thing.
But you had
I played everything on it. Yeah, it was so cool.
Yes.
It was great.
First world problems here.
Right. Well, and I had, like, my mom, she got me that, and she'd gotten me the mobile command center, or not the original command center. The one that like kind of always falls apart and has way too many parts.
The mobile. Are you talking about the?
No. The original, the first one. The
original headquarters.
Yeah.
I love
the one with the gray panels and the little jail inside. And
I thought you were talking.
I mean, I guess the mobile command center had a jail inside of it too. But
yeah, I never had the mobile, and I love that thing.
Well, and I had that one. I got that one at my dad's house. So it was like I had half a GI Joe collection at my mom's.
Okay.
Where like I had like the Mamba and the Tomahawk and all of that stuff, and she got that because she got me the aircraft carrier. She loved all of that stuff.
You gotta have that stuff on. I mean,
yeah.
You can't have cars. You can't have Jeeps and tanks on the aircraft carrier. You gotta have planes. You have to have aircraft, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. When I had that one with the backwards wings, what was that one?
Conquest.
Yes, there you go. I like that one. That one's cool.
I got one. I got a couple.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Actually, I sold mine. I sold my original one not too long ago because it was broken. Because I had bought a new one that's like in mint condition. But then I have another version of one too.
Yeah, I had the Raven, the black copper.
Night Raven.
Yeah, that Night Raven thing. That thing was so cool. So cool. And then I had I think it was the Mamba, right? Is it the purple one with the blades that cross?
And the three the 3 ports for it.
Yeah.
The
detachable pod.
Yeah, I never had that. Yeah. I never had that.
That one was cool.
That was like That was at that time that I was, hey, look, there's skateboarding and there's
Right.
toys.
Right. I think my favorite out of all of those though was that tomahawk. That thing was so cool. I loved that thing.
I still have my original tomahawk and my night rape. I have a lot of my original stuff, but I know those are my original because I drilled a little hook into them so I can hang them from the ceiling. And believe it or not, they still hang from those hooks that I screwed in.
Nice. Hey, I mean,
Which
you're not getting rid of them.
It's just scary as shit that there's a little hook that is screwed into plastic and they're hanging. And it makes me think I should go find a better way to secure them.
You know, I use a shark fishing line, like the clear. It's not really like I don't think you would ever go fishing for sharks with this line because it's still you can still see through it. It's like poly, whatever.
I'm not fishing for sharks as it is. I saw Jaws.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
I know how that.
I use that to hang everything. Like what is it? I got a few things hanging in the Motu area. That's because things got to fly, right? I mean,
yeah.
There's a Zodak right there on the. That's the only. The Zodak back there is the only piece of my original Castle Grayskull that. Well, it wasn't the only piece. I had a few of the weapons and stuff too, but so I painted it up and made a sled, and that's Zodak's Sky Sled now. So, you know. It's like, hey, if you don't have it all, might as well do it. Like, I think my dad like gave it to our neighbors to, you know, because they had grandkids or something and needed toys. And it's like, you did what?
I was lucky. I've said before, I don't know what happened to all my other toys, but I made sure I told my dad, you do not get rid of the G.I. Joe stuff. Now, stuff has gotten lost over the years. There's, you know, even stuff that was broken and figures and weapons, obviously, but he never got rid of it. Thank God, because then I wouldn't have a story about the USS Flag and 8 shipwrecks so that people, you know, no one can not believe me because it's like, it's right here. Look, see?
And all the semen on it.
All right. So you meet your wife on Plenty of Fish.
Yeah.
You said you talked for a few months. How quickly did it get serious? Was it like right away? I mean, 3 months you're talking, but
I mean, we were talking 3 months. We got pretty serious right away. Yeah. I mean, it was just it was like it's so funny. It was like we had to make sure that we weren't related because that's how like similar our lives were and how like, you know, basically like we grew up like not too far from each other in the same town. And it was just weird that we had never encountered one another.
Is she the same age as you or?
She's 4 years younger than me.
Okay.
And she loved make me remember that every time I turn another year older.
Hey, I let Susan, my ex, know that she's 2 years older than me every time she has a birthday. And she's like, it's really only 1 year. I'm like, well, not really, because my birthday's in December, yours is in April. So it's more than a year and a half. It's closer to 2 years that you're 2 years older than me. So I just like to make sure you know this.
I know.
And the best is that my kids make sure she remembers it too.
When me and my brother were younger, yeah, it was always I'm older, and now it's like I'm older.
Yeah, this is why I've been single for 9 years.
Yeah, I get it.
So okay, so you meet.
We met and. We got married in a place called Starved Rock. It's in Illinois. It's a national park. Lots of really cool hiking trails. We literally got married in a canyon. When we called Starved Rock, they were like, "You want to do what?" And we were like, yeah, I guess not a lot of people did this. So my poor mom, who has a heart condition, she even hiked out for us. It was a sopping wet day, but it was cool. We were in this thing called the Council Overhang, and it was like a natural sandstone clamshell amphitheater type thing. And so like water was kind of cascading off the outside of it while we were getting married, and it was very picturesque. Honestly, if I had to do it over again, I would probably do everything indoors. but it was unique and it was cool. And it was something that my wife and I, you know, got into together. and we were just like, why don't we just do it here? And so we did, and our reception was in the campground, and it was fun. Like we had our fun with it, and we enjoyed it. It was a small wedding. We're both older. I was like 30 something. I think she was just about to hit her 30s. Yeah, somewhere around there. And like, it was just like, oh, this is great. We had a great time. And I mean, like I said, like our lives are not perfect. She is a wonderful woman. She is supportive. She has her own issues that she deals with, but when I need her the most,
of course,
she's there.
She's a woman. Of course, she has. Again, that's why I've been single for almost 10 years now.
And the alternative is painful. It makes it hard to sit too. So, but like, like it's funny because like we've done counseling, stuff like that, because if you recognize you're having an issue, you try to fix it up. But like, that's one of the things that I love about my wife is that she's always trying to get better about things or make improvements in life, and it's nice. Like we're always moving forward a little bit, trying to be comfortable, trying to be chill. I mean, running a 10-year-old around constantly, like she's in dance and all kinds of other stuff and scouts and everything, so we're constantly doing something. It's always nice to like be able to lay back and chill. But she's also a nerd too. She doesn't collect toys or anything, but she's a big movie nerd. And when Beetlejuice came out, we had to go see it. And she loves Marvel movies and all of that stuff. So it's cool. Like when something comes up, she's my partner at arms. We went and we had to get like Buster was coming out. She was like, "Well, we have to go see it," and I'm like, "Naturally." So it's cool. Like she loves going to Comic Cons with me. Like we just went to the Northwest Indiana Comic Con.
Okay.
Very small, incredibly small, but growing every year. And it's cool that there's something local. Like, so I got to go to that. I'm gonna try and go to like C2E2 this year. That's the one that they do in Indianapolis.
Okay.
But like, I haven't been doing a lot of cons or anything like that, but I want to. Like, so over the years, we pick a few here and there and we'll, check them out. But I love that about her. Like I found the right person when it comes to doing rent for every year, stuff like that. We have friends, who my daughter is like best friends with from her scouts and preschool that, our families have had like a game dragons going for like the last 3 or 4 years, right? So we meet, we have dinners, so we nerd it up with all of our friends. Like it's great. It's the grown-up adulthood that I always wanted when I was a kid. I'm making it happen now. So
all right, so I want to quickly, so we didn't have Child's World. We had Children's Palace, which was Child's World. There was and I had to look this up recently. So we had Children's Palace. I don't know if you had either or, but they were like a palace. And I told the story recently. Hyperdellic here is completely frozen up. I can remember that is where I got Crystal Ball at, and I can remember exactly where it was at Children's Palace, and I can remember being mad because it was like the only figure that they had that I didn't have, and I wanted a figure, so I ended up with Crystal Ball. God, I hate
you
that
really
figure.
I love that figure. I don't know. He's another one of those polarizing figure. Like some people loved him, some people hated him. There's not a lot of in between.
Well, I still have my original one, but what is funny is that Johnny Reno, Cage's Customs, I'm surprised I didn't hear, he just sent me a box of vintage like O-ring stuff, and he sent me a complete Crystal Ball, which is good because I don't have the shield, so it works out for doing a review that I'll have the shield. But I did want to ask, so you meet your future wife, your now wife. You go in and you know she has a kid. Now, how old is her daughter, and how did you approach that? How did you handle that? Because there's some people that won't do it. Now, I've gone into two different relationships before Susan, my kid's mother. That girl had two kids, and it was horrible because one was very young. We were together for like 3 years, and when it ended, it ended. When I went in with Susan, Emily was 5 years old, no dad, and to say it was rough at times, it would be an understatement.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, when push came to shove, it was obvious you're not her real dad. Like you're not her dad, and it became very frustrating. Even though like now time's different. I've talked to her before. I've talked to her even now in California. I'll be like, do not ask your mother. All you're doing is stressing her out, and then she stresses you out when it's something that I can handle over here. I can take care of it for you. I can explain it to you. And when she was living in Grand Rapids, which is about 3 hours from here, again, she wasn't happy that she moved that far away with her boyfriend. There was times like she had my old car, and something would happen. She'd call her mom. I'm like, why'd you call your mom? Call me. It was my car. I know everything about that car. All right. But all she does is stress you out. So you stress her out, then she stresses you out, and then she calls me stressed out, which means I have to talk to her about something I shouldn't have to talk to her about. So how did you approach it? How did you handle it? And how did she handle it? Like, how did your wife, your soon-to-be wife, and then your daughter? It's your daughter. I mean, again, even if her dad's in her life or whatever, it sounds like you were there for. Yeah, you raised her. And I always say my stepdaughter because once I have to explain the timeline, people are looking at me going, I'm like,
yeah, sometimes people have like that like confused look, and I'm like, oh, she's my stepdaughter,
Yeah.
But because I don't talk about my oldest daughter like she's my stepdaughter. I just talk about her, she's my kid, like that's always going to be.
But when you get to those timelines, and it's like, wait a minute. So you met your wife, 12 years ago, but she's 17. How? And you're like, let me explain it.
And it's funny because I am a stepkid, right? So immediately I already had a bit of understanding of the situation. I knew how she could potentially look at me because like when I was younger, like I love my mom, my stepmom. I call her mom.
Yeah.
Like, she is my mom. And when I was younger, hated her. I hated her. She was the reason that my parents weren't a couple. And I mean, honestly, when I grew up, I understood why my parents weren't a couple. And I was like, whew, that's a good thing. But, like I love my stepmom to death. I don't even call her stepmom. I call her mom. I call her ma straight to her face, I'm going to be devastated, when she passes, that kind of thing. So, I mean, I already kind of had that like understanding, and I was patient as I could be. Well, maybe I could have been more patient here and there, but I feel as that like my daughter calls me her dad. Like she still calls me by name, but she tells me all the time, "You're my dad." Like
Emily's the same way.
Yeah, like her dad.
Emily, like
she was always there. Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, so Emily started calling me dad after Andrew came along, and then when we split up, she did for a while, but then it slowly turned to calling me Lawrence again, and she still will call me that, and it still kind of bothers me to be 100% honest because it's like I raised you, but when she's talking about me to people, she refers to me as her dad.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, it doesn't, I guess it doesn't matter. I used to always say that if I ever have a kid, I want him to just call me Homer, like Bart Simpson. Now I would be super pissed off. But like my daughter, Olivia, she'll refer to Susan, as Susan, and not mom. She will not do it to me because I'm like, you do not call me. You shouldn't be calling your mom like that. But if your mom's gonna let you, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't like it. I just it's disrespectful.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, she tells me all the time. She says, "You're my dad." Like, and her dad was always a part of her life. Like her biological father always was. Like,
Yeah.
but it's hard to explain, and I don't want to be like, I don't want to talk smack about somebody, if they don't have the ability to defend themselves. But he wasn't very fatherly to
Okay.
her. Like, I paid for everything for that kid. I was there at her recitals and at her sporting events and stuff like that. He hardly ever was. And she, I was there when she was shipping off to the military, and I was the one crying and going, my damn kid's going away. And I'm still like, I text her every now and again. I'm like, hey, the hell, I miss you. Why have you not texted me every day? It's like, I don't see her as anything. In fact, there was a period where me and my wife, we were kind of fighting a lot. And she was like, if you guys get divorced, will you still talk to me? And I was like, yeah, you're my kid. Of course. I'm like, get out of here. You're crazy. But she still calls me by my name, and I'm okay with that. In fact, there was one party where she called me dad, and then I was like, huh? And she was like, I don't know where that came from. I was like, ah. I was like, oh, I feel all special inside. But it was to say that it was easy with her would be lying. Like she's a very smart little girl. Like I never, like, we didn't have to help her with schoolwork. She got straight A's all on her own. Like, she was constantly on honor roll, all of that stuff. And it wasn't like a challenge to her either. She's a very smart person. The only major regret I ever had with her was that when she was 14, she came out of the closet. She told me, she says, I'm gay.
Wait,
I think
wait,
I'm
you
gay.
made her stay in a closet? I wonder why you guys had a rough relationship.
Oh, believe me, I had. Oh, after she came out, I had so many jokes. She was like, "You're just gonna keep on doing this, aren't you?" Like, there was one day she was tearing up
I remember you telling me this. Right? Now, I am not the most politically correct. I'm not the most politically correct person. But I find this stuff hilarious. And what I love about this, and I want you to tell the story, I love the fact that there's certain times that there's certain people you can joke around.
Right.
And joke about. They understand that it's a joke. You're not being malicious. You're not being rude. You're not being mean. So please tell the story. I remember this, and I'm so glad you're going to tell it.
No, she was redoing a bunch of stuff in her room, and I just busted the door open one day, and I was like, I stopped and I looked at her. I was like, oh, look at that. I was like a lesbian tearing up carpet, and she was just like, you know what? You're right. That's the kind of relationship that I have with her. Like, she makes more dad jokes than I do, I think, sometimes. But like, I regret, because at the time that she came out to me, she was telling me all this stuff, and I keep in mind, like, I had already done like fundraising for gay rights and stuff. Like, my uncle was gay when I was younger. I mean,
he's not gay anymore.
Well, he's dead now. So, I mean, he's not anything anymore.
It's like years ago, there was something that asked about, so how long have you been a black quarterback? And the guy's like, I've always been a black quarterback.
Perfect answer. But I told her, because her father's side of the family is very conservative, very anti-gay. And I was like, listen, I don't care what you are, just keep on getting good grades, focus on school, and don't tell your dad. and I honestly, I think that's like the only serious regret I ever had in raising her, was I should have just told her, like, be yourself. Don't worry about that shit. If things happen, I will protect you. I am here for you. And I mean, she knew all of that stuff, but like, it was by that point, her and I knew that we were family, right? But when when she was younger and I was first about to become her stepdad, I remember a conversation that her and I had. We were walking to a grocery store, like down this, like a 7-Eleven type thing. And she was like, so do you think that my mom and dad will ever get back together? And I was like, kiddo, your mom and I are about to get married. I was like, I don't think that's going to happen. And I had to explain to her how, it's probably a good thing. I was like, because you know how your mom and dad fight and you hate that? I was like, think about it if you guys were still in that whole situation and they're just very different people. And like I knew right there and then, like she was going through the same thing I had gone through when I was a kid. It was that whole you see and you're told what the standard family is supposed to be like, but like you're being dealt with something that's not the norm. It's not the average. It's not what everybody says is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like family in my eyes, most of my life, family has always been a lot of different things. I mean, I loved the heck out of my stepmother's family. Those were my uncles and aunts. That was my grandma. I used to joke and tell people I have 3 grandmas, and they're like, what? How is that? I'm like, oh, my mom was a big lady. So it's you try to make jokes. Like my daughter, she makes jokes all the time, and it's funny. Like she cracks me up, and I'm just like, oh man, you are dark, kid. Like she will say some awful stuff, and you're just like, oh wow, oh, it's a good thing this is the right audience. But yeah, it was tough, but I gotta say, like I had one of the best like stepkids ever. Like she was easy. She was a good kid. She had issues, but they were easy for us to work our way through it all.
Yeah. So John Battle says, damn Lawrence and friend. I think he's talking about you. That's Hyperdellic. I started following the conversation more when you started talking about kids, and I'm a stepfather raised by a stepfather, having some of the same experience of raising her. And again, I wasn't. My mom passed away when I was 13, and my dad did not get remarried. He didn't even start dating till I was, I think, around 18 or so. So even my stepmom isn't. I'm never gonna call her my mom. Like she didn't raise. And it's nothing negative against her. She wasn't around. Like I raised.
Yeah.
My dad was the one that raised me, and I raised myself. Here comes a child right now. So, I didn't have that experience. So, going into it, to become again, my ex and I were never married, but I raised her. So,
Right.
it is different. And there are those times that it is perfectly clear you're not her dad.
Yeah, see, I never got that one. She never said it to me, but there were definitely plenty of moments where I was like,
nope. I never heard it either, but it was sometimes the look, and you were able to tell, like, yeah, you're trying to say right now, like, I really have no say in this.
Right.
And, that's one of those things where here now she's, 28 years old. So I don't need to worry about that, anymore. And when Susan, talks about things, what are you doing? Not you, her. Anyway,
you don't know what I'm doing either.
That's how mom did, like, how, well, when you kept on saying that you didn't know if I was your kid when we knew it was a joke, that's how mom acted.
I still don't know if you're my kid.
Okay, so
no DNA.
I have my DNA test ready. What if it comes back and it says mom is not my mom?
I believe I saw you come out of your mom. You're your mom.
Unless they switched you. You could have gotten.
Oh, I know. I know the chubby baby that came out.
Stop it.
You were
Okay,
adorable.
you're calling me fat.
I said you were
Babies
chubby.
are chubby. They're supposed to be chubby.
Chubby and fat are synonyms. I hate.
I didn't say you're chubby now.
Okay.
Because you're not.
I was.
But as a baby, you were
Love
the
cinnamon.
shortest and the heaviest.
Okay. Pause.
Well, Eric, you have to wait because it hasn't happened yet. Not for 2 weeks. You being on here, but I'm talking to somebody, so get out of here. Unless you have something to ask me. What?
Just wanted to know what.
I know.
Well, I kept on hearing Kid, daughter.
Yeah, well, we weren't talking about you. We were talking about the other daughter.
That's messed up.
Well,
Is it because, do you have green on because it's a leprechaun and she's a ginger?
green on? No.
Lights.
Oh my gosh. This girl. I swear. This one. This is exactly why she's going to have a Thursday with a friend. So she can
Thursday
explain
with your daughter.
Thursday with my daughter. With
No,
Punk's
a daughter.
Thursday with Punk's daughter. Oh my goodness.
You should put it as Thursday with a daughter.
I like with a daughter.
Well, it's already done.
Because you don't say with my friend.
Thursday with Punk's daughter.
No, but like you don't say Thursday with a friend. You say Thursday with a friend, not Thursday with my friend. So maybe they're not your friend.
They might not be.
Shucks. Be my dad's friend, please.
Yes, 3-star. You're right. You're not even going to get to talk, Lawrence. And you know what? Since we're here, and anytime that somebody that's a channel member throws up how long they've been a channel member for, we usually play the fucking Phil Collins. But since she's here and doesn't want to shut up, let's do a live version of it.
Fucking Phil Collins.
There was a lot of heart in that.
Yeah, I know. She's mad.
I'm not mad.
Oh, a 3-star member for 10 months.
I just can't say it.
You need to get another one.
Okay.
How do you say it? Come on.
Fucking Phil Collins, like that's how we say it.
No, you said it like this.
Fucking Phil Collins.
Fucking Phil Collins.
You say it with disdain in that.
Like, what did Phil Collins do to you?
No, yeah, like I was just interested how you handled, as being a, being a. Oh, here comes another one. Let's hear it again.
Did you know G.I. Joe?
G.I. Joe is not French.
So that's like the French flag.
What?
Red, white, blue. Is that not the French flag?
It's our flag.
Okay, but like that's closer to the French flag if you like switch it this way.
What are you talking about?
That's the French flag.
Oh my gosh, it's red, white, and blue.
That's the French flag.
Well, I mean,
So you know.
Oh
you
my
rearrange
goodness.
it could be the Russian flag too. Mhm.
Exactly. You never know what it is.
And this is why she's gonna have her own episode, because
Don't just count one.
That should be fun. Oh,
I'm scared she does not have a point. Don't even encourage her.
What
All
did
right.
I do have?
Anyway, I don't know where the hell we were at because interruption.
Because you were talking about how you could tell like by a look that she was saying like you're not my dad, but she wouldn't say it out loud. That's where you were, by the way.
Okay. And Clint Jorgensen with his
Right.
good night, love you. Are you going to bed?
Is it the Puerto Rican flag? I mean, it could be. You never know.
There's a lot of color. There's a lot of people that use the red, white, and blue. Yes, but ours have the stars and bars on it. But the G.I. Joe logo at the end does not. It has red, white, and blue.
Yeah. It's
Where we from?
pretty anonymous.
I was gonna say love you back, but I don't know anymore.
All right, love you.
Love
That's
you.
probably so they could do Action Force.
Anyway, I guess I owe a couple of these just because.
Fucking Phil Collins.
Yeah.
Fucking Phil Collins.
She left the room, so you guys don't get the
Left
last
Flint. Yeah.
With that said about French, I always thought that Stalker, the action figure, looked like he was French.
Yeah, maybe.
The beret, but even the facial features made him look like he was French. All right, so you get married. You obviously have a stepdaughter, so you have a built-in daughter right from the beginning.
Yeah.
How long?
It's funny too because after I had broken up with my ex-girlfriend, and my dad was just like, he was like, "Look, you got to find the right girl." He was like, "No kids, no tattoos, no piercings." So I'm talking to my dad, and I'm like, "So I want you to meet a girl, and I really like her, and I'm thinking about, we're probably going to be serious." And he's like, "All right, so let's do the list." He's like, does she have piercings? I was like, yep. He's like, all right, well, it's, 20, whatever it was. I think it was like 2010, 2011 when I finally introduced him. And he's like, okay. Does she have any tattoos? I was like, oh yeah, a bunch. He's like, all right, you're not doing so well. He was like, how about kids? I was like, yep, got a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old. And he's like, what is wrong with you? And my stepmom goes, really? That's the one you're really upset about? I was like, yeah, you hypocrite. What the heck? But you know what? My folks love my wife. She's a great fit for our family. They are wonderful to my kids. Although my stepdaughter, she doesn't really know them that well. Like she doesn't, she was always like at her dad's for like a lot of the holidays and stuff. So she never ended up getting to hang out. He wants to know if you shit talking, huh?
Who told you? I was just bragging about people that said that they watch my stuff first.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Having an instant kid was incredible. I'm ready for the next few years with my younger daughter, because now she's about the age that my stepdaughter was when I first met her. And those first few years of my younger daughter were crazy. I mean, having a little toddler, man, it's so much work that you don't want to go back to it, but man, were those like some of the most precious years. My kid was adorable, especially when she started swearing. Like toddlers and swear words are hilarious to me, but it was like, then I had to like teach her how not to do it in stores and stuff. Because like one day we were in a store and she's like, crap, haha, daddy, right? And I'm like, oh man, all right, well, I got to rethink this parenting. But she's a wonderful kid. Like both of my daughters, I'm extremely lucky. Like they are both kind, caring, compassionate people. My older daughter, like she's like I said, like I keep telling her like I'm so mad at her for moving away just when she was getting cool. I'm like I can hang out with you now. Why you gotta leave?
So how long were you guys together before you had your own child? That sounds weird.
Like dating and married, probably about 5 years, 4 or 5 years.
So did it feel like the relationship with your stepdaughter, and again, we've already discussed how, did it change when your daughter came, like this guy's gonna be here no matter what? Like no matter what, now somehow. Yeah. I guess that's not completely true, because there are parents that walk away from their kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like my relationship with my daughter got even better as the years went on, just because of, we were family, and I never treated her like, I spoiled the living crap out of her. Anything she wanted, she got. Like we would, make sure, like if she wanted to be involved in something, we made sure that we got her involved in it. And we had less money back then too. It was like funny, like one day we got a swing set, like one of those like wood, playhouse things for the backyard for my little one. And she was like, well, I never she was just messing with me. She wasn't serious about it. But I was like, that if we had the money that we have these days, you were littler, you would have had all of this. Like we did as much as we could. And anytime I see her, like I still buy her toys. I do. I buy her Pokemon stuff. I've got a couple of Lego, like the Mega Block sets upstairs, just sitting there waiting for the next time she comes out. Just to.
How many times she got to come? So every time to get something, she's got to come out of the closet again.
Yes. No, she's pretty full out. She's married to a girl and all that stuff. And I keep telling her, I'm like, you can still have children. But she's like, I'm good. And it's like, I guess. The really nice thing about having a daughter that was lesbian was I wasn't worried about her getting knocked up in high school. Like that was, and like my younger one, man, she gets boy crazy, and it's like, oh, that sucks. So, Yeah,
Um, well, Edward, I will give it to you. Normally, like when someone uses uh, that chat that they get.
Fucking Phil Collins.
Man,
Fucking Phil Collins.
I didn't mean to hit it twice. Yeah, when you're a member, you get like a free super chat. It's weird. I don't. It's not technically a super chat. They just get a chat. Like they can send a message that gets highlighted like a super chat. But they're like, it's a free super chat. Like, no, it's just a highlighted message. A free super chat defeats the whole purpose of a super chat.
yeah. Still need money though.
It's like, technically you are paying money to be a member, so
Right.
they give you like, I don't know if it's like one a month or one a stream. I'm not sure exactly. Oh, Clinton Jorgensen answered that. You get a free message once per month, which is weird because you can just leave a message.
Right. Yeah, but it shows up all bright, And
yes, I mean that's exactly what it is. It shows up bright and it makes people happy. And hey, you know what? I'm glad I can make some people happy here because this channel and everything isn't doing anything without everyone that is here watching or in the chat or people that join me.
Exactly.
All right, so you now have a daughter.
Yeah.
No, you have a biological daughter. So now you're here with two. Are you collecting anything at this time?
So like right around, I want to say 20, maybe about when she was about 5, like 2020, 2019, I started collecting. When the Ghostbusters Plasma series started coming out is when I started collecting again.
Okay.
And I keep in mind, like, we always had Legos in the house. I was constantly like, playing around with Legos and stuff like that. We still have entirely too many Legos around this house. But
what's your favorite Pokemon? I'm serious asking, what's your favorite Pokemon?
What's her favorite Pokemon? My older daughter's favorite Pokemon was always Charizard. I don't know what my little one's is. She likes Pokemon, but she's not as into it as like my older daughter was. Like my older daughter is like, she's a lifer. Like she's got like a Pikachu shaped teardrop coming down, so she's hard. No, but I remember when that last Pokemon game came out, Violet and Scarlet, she had it beat in like 3 days, and I was like, dude, what did you do? She was like, I stayed awake for 36 hours. Oh my god, kid. Like, she's like, I don't understand why I'm up all night. And then she takes a swig of like an energy drink. I'm like, I think we just figured it out. And that's like that's what cracks me up about her. Like, I love Red Bull. I know it's terrible for me, and especially being a big guy, but I love Red Bull. And so my older daughter, she loves Red Bull too. So it's like Red Bull and Japanese food was always like our thing, And I'm like every time I see a Japanese like restaurant, I'm just like, I miss my kid. I'm like, I need my partner, because my wife, she can't. She likes some Asian food, but she's not like adventurous as my older daughter became. That was part of our thing. Like, it's like she's like, have you tried live octopus? And I'm like, yeah, and I'm never doing that again. Like, yeah, oh yeah, no, you're making the right face.
One thing I know octopus are good for is throwing them on the ice when the Red Wings are doing well. So there's not many octopi being thrown on the ice these days.
I guess not. Yeah.
Ooh. All right, so you got back into, you started collecting. You said around 2019.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Jeff didn't jump in here because you said Ghostbusters. So how
might have been 2018. I don't know, somewhere around there.
How much did you get into it right away, or was it just kind of picking stuff up?
It was slow at first. Like I've always had this thing for like toy props and stuff like that. Like we had like, I have a couple of lightsabers at home and a couple of,
Okay.
Well, actually I have all of the doctors from Doctor Who. I have all of the sonic screwdrivers, his little, magic wandy thingy. And so like that was kind of where it started. And then I had like, a couple of Ghostbuster props and, just little things here and there. Usually, like right now in our car, we have Lilo Dallas's multipass hanging from the, rear view mirror. If you know Fifth Element, like that's just the kind of nerd. Yeah, we rock like that. Some of the people in the chat probably know who Lilo Dallas.
Matthew does, because Matthew's wife worked on it. I'm surprised Matthew hasn't even. He's frantically typing right now.
Good for you. Those are some cool nerd creds.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
But yeah, like so. I mean, yeah, we. I was doing like that, and then all of a sudden, I'm in the toy aisle and He-Man's on the shelf again, and I'm like looking at it, and I had already gotten all 4 of the Plasma series Ghostbusters, and I was just like, it was just a small, I was like not trying to do anything major. We were at the time we were in this idea that we were going to decorate our dining room as like a kind of a nerd diner, like we were going to get pictures of like one of the pictures that I wanted to get signed was of Ian McKellen, right? The guy that played Gandalf, and Patrick Stewart eating hot dogs at a fair with like bowler hats on. That's like one of the best pictures ever. I love that picture. But we were gonna like try and get stuff like that signed and put up on the wall and that, and we were doing like movie props and stuff like that. And yeah, and then He-Man came out, and I was like, oh well, I got to get He-Man, and I mean, obviously, got to get Skeletor, and Beastman and Man at Arms. Well, who can't have many faces? Like, so it just kept going from there. I was like, well, clearly I have to have Battle Cat. He-Man can't be without Battle Cat. So, and my wife was just like, you're gonna keep on doing this, aren't you? I was like, maybe. And then and then I discovered G.I. Joe Classified series, and I was just like, oh, what? These are awesome. And it was by the time I had like 50 action figures just piling up all over the place, my wife was like, yep, this is a thing now. Oh, great. And so, but like she understands nerdy things, so she wasn't like, she was like, what is it? I'm like, I don't know. It's like it goes back to my childhood. Like they were my favorite things. I loved action figures. There was just something about it. Like, you could pretend that you were the hero, you had that hero right there, and it was just some of the coolest, most imaginative stuff. I mean, He-Man blew people's minds when it first came out. That was just like, bro, He-Man's awesome. And like, G.I. Joe, the military detail that they were putting out, man, it was just like to have all of this stuff popping up again. Like the first G.I. Joe Classified figure I bought was that Cobra Commander. Like, and I liked it. I thought it was awesome. And then of course I had to have Destro. And then, oh, well, Zartan's out. I got to get him too. And it's just, like, and I had started to pick up some Star Wars Black Series. Like I've got a bunch, but I kind of pick and choose what I get from Star Wars. Like, I love like the Star Wars Rebels stuff. When I just recently picked up a Zeb, and then I got little Zeb. So, like so I mean, I have my things, but like, so I enjoy almost everything. Like I try, and I decided like recently that I got to start, like I got some Transformers, I decided recently that I have to start kind of scaling back because I'm just buying too much. Like I'm grabbing like anything and everything that I want, and I gotta like cut it out. Like I gotta start being a little bit more like selective. But of course, Big Bad Toy Store doesn't allow me to, because they're like, oh, put this on pre-order, and I'm like, okay, I'll put that on pre-order. I mean, like, hey, I've already got Shaggy and the Mummy from that Jada Toys line already like pre-ordered. It's such a bad. It is. It's a good thing I don't do drugs anymore, because this is more expensive.
I was at the like maybe last year or 2 years ago. Yeah, it was last year because I haven't been skating very much. I was at the skate park and I was talking to the owner. And we were talking about stuff, and I go, "Yeah," I go, "I spend more on toys than I did skateboarding." Now I was breaking boards like crazy. I was going through boards for a while there when I started skating again, and he was like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, probably a lot more." Um, Luckily, the difference was that I got monetized, so I'm actually getting, I'm actually getting paid to do this in a roundabout way, right? Skateboarding, I can tell you right now, I've never made any money skateboarding. A matter of fact, when I worked at a skate shop, I got everything at cost, so I would just write it down, and then she would put it on my tab and take so much. So even while I worked there, I probably spent more money in the long run on shoes, clothes, obviously boards, and everything else.
That's the way to go about it, though. I mean,
So it's like I've never made money off skateboarding, but man, if I
yeah.
put a lot of money into it. And toys are the same way. And I'm not a flipper. I'm not a guy that, I have a hard time selling anything that I have because everything that I bought it because I liked it, not because,
Right.
this is
I
cool
want it.
right now. So when I want to get rid of something, I look at it and I'm like, I bought this for a reason. I don't want to get rid of it. So I have stuff that's sitting here that I want to sell, but as the moment I look at it, I'm like,
Well, and now like having the channel, I pick up extra like the Mattel Creation stuff. I ordered an extra hero. That's probably going to either be sold or given away on the channel. I've
okay.
got a Rio Blast that I'm going to be giving away on my channel. So like now I'm starting to think about like that kind of stuff.
Don't become a giveaway channel. Just remember that.
Yeah, it's
Like,
not all of them. Like okay, so like I recently I did a 500 subscribers giveaway well after I had my 500 subscribers because I'm just so bad at like staying on my calendar. But I sent that out to my guy Shayton's Hammer. Shout out, bro. Um he, and I like I wanted to for 500. I want to for 1,000. I was gonna do one for 900, and I've changed my mind. I'm actually gonna do like I'm gonna donate some toys to a women's shelter. Some of it's going to be used stuff that I have that I was thinking about putting up on eBay, but a bunch of it is like some Ninja Turtle stuff that I bought and I haven't opened or anything like that. And because I figure like, kids need, especially kids in that kind of a situation need to have something, because maybe their toys are locked up somewhere in a, storage bin or something like that. Or, so I think I'm going to do something like that. 1,000 is probably going to be the last time I do a giveaway for a while. Maybe at 2,000, maybe, but I don't want to be. Yeah, I don't want to be that.
I think the 1,000 is a good mark to get to. I would say once you like 5,000, then you start doing the every 5,000, and then maybe you hit 10. I'm not at 10 yet, but then you every 10,000. You don't want to do it all the time, and that's just my personal opinion. Because then people expect you to always be giving. I had people going.
It's gonna be expensive.
I had people messaging me saying, "Hey, what are you going to give away when you hit 4,000 or something?" And so did this, and I was like, "I ain't giving shit away."
Yeah.
It sounds awful until I was. It might have actually been 5,000. It might have been 5,000. I don't remember. But then a couple people hit me up saying, "Hey, I want to donate something, for you to give away at 5,000." Like, all right, cool. Thank you very much. We'll do that, right? But it is, and it's different if you hit 1,000. You're like, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to do this because we hit 1,000." But when you're incentivizing, first off, YouTube absolutely hates people promoting, incentivizing, because that's not how they want people to grow. Although they allow you to buy subs, so I guess that doesn't make a lot of sense these days. But a lot on YouTube doesn't.
That is one of the only videos that I paid for the views thing. My giveaway video, and it did terribly still.
Mhm.
So because I only did like $5 on it. I wanted to test it out to
Yep.
see what it was all about. And yeah, it's not that helpful. Like
It's very helpful in my personal opinion. It really should be used for, let's say you created a TV series that people would be interested in.
yeah, and you're
Or if
trying to
you're in,
advertise it out there.
yeah, if you're in a market where you are maybe even doing reviews on electronics, that's something that everyone uses and you need to get into it, and it's harder. In this here, it doesn't really matter because you're broadcasting to you're pushing it out to people that don't care about toys. So no one,
Right.
like the people that they want to hear about toys, they want to talk about toys, they're going to find your channel one way or another if that's
Yeah.
what you're in. Electronics, everyone has a phone, right? TV, everyone has a TV. Everyone needs a computer. Like these are things that are mass marketing. If you create a TV series and you're putting it on YouTube, it's advertising dollars.
Right.
I did a review. I am not going to fucking advertise it. All right, because guess what? If you want to know about this Cobra Commander, you're not waiting to see the advertising page going, oh my god, I've still been looking for someone to review this Cobra Commander, and I didn't know how to find it in the search engine.
I love that your Cobra Commander has a coffee cup in his hand. I actually, my Cobra Commander also has a coffee cup in his hand.
I don't think you can read it, and it says "Go away."
That's great. I bought toy furniture because I want to do. I'm gonna try and do some stop motion stuff, and it's funny because right now my lineup is I've got Cobra Commander, the creature from the Black Lagoon, Chris Starr, and the what was his it was like the future Last Stand Spider-Man, the one that everybody hates because they're like you can't pose him to do anything. He looks awesome. I love that he's got like the cool like Spider-Man leather jacket and everything. I thought he was awesome when he came out. I was just like, it's okay. He can stand there just looking awesome. But so those four, they're going to be roommates, and it's just going to be dumb shit that Cobra Commander's constantly yelling at them, and this and that. And we'll see. I mean, I say that now, and it'll probably the end product will be something completely different. I'm sure.
But just remember this. Remember this, and Matthew, I think you're in here. Ed, I don't know if Ed, stop motion, not that AI bullshit.
Right.
Well, stop motion good.
Some of the AI stuff is fun if it's done right.
Some of it is fun, but it's some of these people are putting out some of the absolute worst. Now, if they were putting out the absolute worst and going, and their post was like, "Oh my god, look how bad this one was," but they weren't. They're not. They're proud of it, and I'm like, "What the fuck is that? That shouldn't be anywhere. Like, get rid of that engine, but stop motion good, AI stupid, crappy, bad." And I know Matthew, we have a mods chat on Instagram, and Ed was like, I don't know. He's like, I haven't seen any of that. And then Matthew and I just started, and then I think he got stuck in his algorithm. So finally, there was one specific person that kept doing them, and I think we all unfollowed him because I'm like, I cannot look at this anymore. I'm making myself mad. I'm actually like hate watching this. But some of it was so bad, like we're like messaging each other, like, "Oh my god, look at this one."
Dude, on Instagram, there's some really like people come up with some gross stuff, like the weird monster creatures that like morph into stuff. I'm like, dude, that's awesome looking, but I was just about to eat, and now I'm not gonna, like, ugh. But
So,
you know what? I will say this much: I recently employed some AI for a very fun endeavor. You ever get those text messages where they're like, "Oh, sorry, it's the wrong number," and then it obviously turns into somebody's, trying to get you to buy crypto or something?
Yep.
I like to have fun with those. My last one, I was a marketing and sales person named Zach from Minnesota, and I loved barbecue. quote unquote, but barbecue was going to be code for BDSM. But she didn't know that, or he more than likely didn't know that right away. And they were like, "Do you have pictures?" And so I used AI to make pictures of Zach. Zach was like a middle-aged, guy with dark hair and a lazy eye, and he really loved cats. And one of the pictures was him in a Hawaiian shirt with a cat with a sombrero on it. And I was like, I got real creative with AI. I had AI helping me out with some dialogue to tell them stuff and everything. I was really disappointed they cut out because I'm pretty sure they checked the photo. Like, because you can run it through an AI filter. I checked theirs too. I was like, yep, definitely AI. So they're getting better though. Like, I was like, if you didn't think about that kind of stuff, you might have thought that was really an Asian lady named Delilah texting you about how she was having a barbecue and you should come on over.
Oh,
So
man.
yeah, my buddy of mine, like he did this a long time ago, and he had somebody on the hook for like a good week and a half. And the story wound up like eventually he was starting a battle inside Walgreens, and oh my god, there was a character that he decided to create named Jerry. Jerry died, but then Jerry came back to life at some point. And like people in our assembly plant would like read his daily updates and just be like, yes, Jerry's good. We got so invested in the story. We're like, I gotta see how this turns out. So it's like it inspired me. Like my wife just cracks up. She's like, you should just tell them to fuck off and like don't give them any time. I'm like, no. My life's too boring for that. I gotta make sure I get some enjoyment out of this.
Yeah, I used to have a friend when he would get those, and this was before like texting. When he would get those calls, he would keep people on the line for like 10 minutes. He would keep them on, and to the point where they were getting aggravated with him. Like, you called here to spam, and now you're mad that this guy has got you on the hook. But he was also the same guy. Some people remember that you could call information to get a phone number.
Right.
He would call information and ask like, "Hey, how do you make a pumpkin pie?" This is information. Exactly. I need the information. He do it every now and then just because he was bored. Like,
I don't have internet.
And I wasn't there, but they were like, one day he called and he asked how to make something. And the lady spent like 5 minutes explaining because she knew how to make it.
That's awesome.
And they were like, he was like, I can't get rid of her now. Like, now she's like the joke's over. Like,
she calls me every now and again and asks me how I'm doing.
But you know what? That's the type of stuff that happens, right?
That is good stuff. Yeah.
So, are there any lines that you're all in on right now?
Well, Motu Origins, I'm pretty much always all in on.
Okay.
For a minute there, I was all in on the crossover turtles thing, but I can't keep up with that one. And they've already Snake Man me to death. So I'm like, I don't want more Snake Men, and like the fact that they just keep ignoring the evil horde is just like, come on, guys, I want this already. I mean, I want my because I never did have the what was the evil hordes thing? Oh my god, my old brain is like forgetting things now. The evil hordes playset. Holy cow, why can I not think of this? I don't remember. Somebody in the chat got me.
No, my Motu guys are gone right now.
Yeah, how am I a Motu fan and I don't remember what a Hordax Evil Hideout is?
I know what you're talking about.
Either way, like I never had that when I was younger, so I'm really excited for the new one to come out.
Fright Zone.
Yeah, it's Fright Zone. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Man, I feel embarrassed that I didn't remember that. But I have a lot of Masterverse figures.
Horde House.
I like that one too.
Like that.
That sounds like a title for a reality show with starring Hordak.
I was gonna say it sounds like a Rob Zombie horror movie.
That too. There you go.
Maybe I think Dracula as the theme song.
I will say this much: I am definitely all in on that on the Thundercats and Motu crossover. I am buying every one of those.
A lot of people that are
I,
excited about that.
I can't even contain myself when it comes to that. Yeah, I think Motu Origins is the only one that I'm fully all in on, but I don't. But even that one, I've started to not get every single one. Like,
Yeah.
I held off on a lot of the She-Ra stuff. Although I got the new She-Ra, she's great. Those cartoon collection ones are fantastic looking. Like they look so much better than you think they should look, and it's like, wow, these are great. Like, man, I wish I had these when I was a kid. Um, the that Prince Adam with Cringer. I mean, this is like one of my favorite. Like, I've got
That
like
is. I was tempted to get that.
these ones. It's so good. It's a good one. I love the Cringer. Like, that's definitely the best Cringer they've given us so far. Even the classics Cringer wasn't that good. And I wasn't collecting anything during classics, which I'm sad, because now I try to find classics figures that I want, and they're like $200 on up, and it's just like, there's no way. My wife would castrate me in my sleep. Shoot, it was funny. Like, when I was at the Northwest Indiana Comic Con, I was looking at this one booth. They had some crazy cool classic comics, and there was this Silver Surfer, like, original print, like $600. And he's like, you like that? I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter how much I like that. I got a house though. What is the name for my stop motion house? I don't know yet. I haven't really put it together yet. But there's gonna be my daughter's gonna be involved too. She's gonna be doing some of the voices. Like, that's one of the other things that, like, on YouTube I was trying to get into, but now AI is ruining for me. Is voiceover work. I wanted to do more voiceover work. A little while ago, I did some stuff for a guy named Hebro, and he did like this cool, like, stop motion with Too Bad, and I was the voice of both Too Bad and Tuvar and Badra, the two guys, and then I did some other voices for some guards and stuff like that. That was a blast. It was really fun to do. And yeah, so it was like, I want to do more of that, so I figure I'll just do it myself. And I did some stuff like earlier, like I have a lot of 4-inch figures, and so, like, I had like RoboCop married to Godzilla, and they had a whole thing for a little bit. I only had like a couple of episodes of that, but that was really fun to do, and I want to do more of it. It's a lot more time consuming than other stuff, so it's like I try to fit it in whenever I can. And then one of the other toys that I play with a lot now is I recently bought a drone, and I'm trying to I want to actually get a FAA license and do like professional, like, instead of doing what I'm doing now, maybe do professional drone piloting and stuff like that. We'll see. There is a market for it in home inspection, but I got to get better with my drone. But that's a blast too. I'll definitely be doing some videos with that, where you see a GI Joe guy flying across, and he's attached to my drone or something. So
where
that'll
do you
come
see,
in there too.
So where do you see your YouTube channel? Like, where do you want to take it?
So yeah, I've been doing a bunch of, like, thinking about that too, because, like, my collection now, I mean, I have well over 400 action figures in my house, and I've got a pile of growing action figures that I have not reviewed yet, right? So, like, it's becoming more and more apparent to me that, like, because I like to put the work that I do into my reviews. So I'm thinking that there's going to be I'm going to start pulling back on my reviews, and I'm going to start trying to, like, the stop motion thing, do some more videos like that, or do something shorter, or like me hitting my local comic shops and stuff like that. So I'm probably going to try and do some of that. There's a drone photographer who uses Joe and Vala figures. Yeah, kind of like that. Definitely not like Thanos's photography. Though I am a fan.
When
I'm
you
always
said
amazed that
you started saying something about 10 or 15 minutes ago about some people how they do the photography, and because I'm not doing stuff like that. I thought you were like going there, and I'm like, no, please don't say anything bad about Thanos Captor. And then it's like, oh no, he was talking about something completely
Thanos.
different.
And you know what? Throughout his photography series, I was constantly cheering him on because, like, if you look at his first like Sunday, toy photography video, and you look at where he's at now, like the quality of his photography is just growing, and I think that's awesome.
That's
Sometimes the subject matter
that's
is
the only thing that's growing in his.
But you know what I love about like having Thanos in my feed is like all of a sudden it'll be this, and you're looking at it going, I hadn't thought of that. All right, man. All right.
There's sometimes when you're scrolling through Instagram and you land on Thanos's pictures, you're like, not only are you looking that someone's around, you're scrolling back down to. Then I'm scrolling back down to like Wood Bunny or that other half naked ladies, and like, oh my god, this is so much more appropriate. I don't want to see me looking at.
Like I just he's got like he finds the coolest props too.
Yes,
I'm like, where did you find that vibrator?
And he'll be like, oh, I have like 3 different sizes, and you're like, what? But he's like, well, if you just go on eBay, and I'm like, okay, I guess I didn't really think that I could go. I guess I've never been on eBay or Amazon and been like, toy dildo.
I recently
look, like someone makes it.
Exactly. Picking up props for like the toy animation stuff that I want to do. I have come across some stuff and I'm just like, huh, well, they're making that, huh? Like I remember like when Mr. Home Arcade first kind of jumped onto the scene, I was like, bro, where did you get those liquor bottles? I need to get some of those. And like it's all over Amazon. It's it's great.
There's a lot of like cool things. I asked the same thing where it's like, oh my god, like where did you get like you said, like beer bottles or dishes, like different things like.
Mm-hmm.
But I've just never been like, I want to make a butt plug for a 6-inch action figure.
I'm sure Thanos has one if you need.
And if he does it right now and he's watching, he's like, hold on, I just
shout out Thanos, love you, bro. I do. He's such a cool, like mellow, nice dude too.
He is.
Like, I love Thanos. He's a good dude.
I think that's just it. He is such a. When you talk to him, when you see him, you're like, you're the one doing this. You're the one that's pushing the Instagram algorithm to see if you can get banned. But again, and he's just like this very calm, mellow guy. It's weird. I could imagine him being mad, although I'm sure he's gotten pissed off in his life. But he's just very mellow until it's time to do some of that photography. And now that he has a figure that looks like himself.
I know, right? I'm like,
oh man. Does. So now I can't not look at it. In that last one where he's laying on the couch and I'm like,
yep.
Oh my god.
Well, good on you, bro.
If I remember correctly, when he was on the Clubhouse, I think I brought it up. He's like, "Oh, I had bigger ones that I could have used." I'm like, "How many toy schlongs do you need?"
He's gonna do a bit where it's Diddy's house, and it's just gonna be nothing but like all toys.
I wonder if he'd be willing to use baby oil on some of his toys.
Wouldn't happen.
Thanos, if you are listening, we want a Diddy. We need a Diddy party
That would be great. I would just be like, "Yep, now it's done. Thank you."
I think you know what, if that hasn't gone through his mind and he's watching it, or someone here talks to him, someone's got to bring it up to him, and I have a
Pass that
feeling
along.
I could definitely see that. Matter of fact, I'm going to be messaging him with that one. Like, we need
I
a
want a
Diddy
whole
party.
series of a Diddy action figure from him. I just
This is how I perceive it. Messaging him, like, hey, dude, we were just talking, and Hyperdellic and I said we need a Diddy party shot, and it's going to be, yeah, I've had a few messages. I'm working on it right now. That's how the conversation I feel is going to go. Yeah, I've already had a few people message me about that, and I'm working on it right now.
That's one of my go-to lines nowadays. People are like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm better than Diddy."
You know, I don't ever feel bad. I don't ever feel bad for extremely rich people that lose everything because they can't live off $100,000 a year. Believe me, that is more than enough to live off of. You just have to change your way you live. But I am absolutely blown away by these people. I'm blown away by these people that have everything, but just cannot. They can't find a way to not do anything illegal.
Yeah, that's why I said, like, I'm okay being middle class, you know, like I don't need to be rich. Getting rich makes you a little crazy, I think.
I guess so, but I will never understand why you think you can do something and that's eventually not going to come out. That's what, like,
Right. Yeah. You're famous. People watch you under a microscope. Just don't.
And it only takes like especially like what he was doing, and I'll admit I did not go down that road yet of watching, hearing everything, but all it takes is like the one celebrity that's like, what the fuck is this? And they walk out and they go, dude, just like the whole Bill Cosby thing. One comedian said something. I heard about this years before it on a Detroit radio station. And a guy had written books about this stuff. And I was kind of like, not everyone knows this. And that's how he was. He was like, I just assumed everyone knew it. I didn't think that this was going to go viral and cause like all the stuff to happen with Bill Cosby. I just assumed everyone already knew it.
Makes you worried every time somebody offers you a pudding pop. That's for sure. Like, I'm gonna get real sleepy, aren't I?
I think the funniest thing, it's not the funniest thing, but it's one of the weirdest things is that you think about the stuff that Bill Cosby did. And I'm sorry. I think he's completely guilty of this.
I think so.
But
too,
when you listen to Eddie Murphy, I think it's Raw, when he talks about Bill Cosby reaching out to him,
talking about filth, flarn,
yes. And now you're like, really? Like, talk about being hypocritical.
Yeah.
Like, you're telling someone not to be like that, and you're doing something way worse. But to hear him do Bill Cosby and then hear him do Richard Pryor when he calls Richard Pryor to ask him.
It's not bad. I love that. Yeah, that's one of the best ones ever.
No, again,
like, everything's getting wavy. No, that's just my sweater. That's okay. You're all right.
MCR saying we will never look at Hollywood the same way. I don't think I've looked at Hollywood the same way in a long time.
Like, the Corey Feldman stuff. Oh man,
did you see the recent one where the microphone smashes him in the face?
Corey Feldman?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that.
I'll send it to you because, like, I don't know, it popped up on my reels and it's like, this will never not be funny. He's playing and he steps up to it and he must step on the bottom of the mic or the mic stand and it smashes him in the face.
Oh my god!
And whoever posted was like, he's like this. He's like, he said something like, "This gets funnier every time I watch it so many times." And I sent it to a few people, so I'll be able to find it really, really easily.
I followed him all summer while he was on that tour with Limp Bizkit, and it was some of the best Instagram stuff I've seen in forever. Like he's so serious about what he's doing, and it's like you have to wonder if he's not like doing like an Andy Kaufman where he's just not really serious about it, because it's just so like when I saw him shredding on the guitar and all he was doing was slapping it around, I was like, oh my god, he's not playing anything. Like, what is he doing? Like, they're the best. Like, if you haven't watched some of his stuff, like you gotta go through his feed and like just watch where he's like performing.
Oh,
The best.
But I don't think he understands that he's the joke.
Don't think he does either. But you know what? The guy's making some money off of it. So hey, who's who's laughing harder?
I don't think it is. I truly think that this guy.
No, I think he's real about it.
There are people that know that it's the shtick, right? I don't think that he realizes he is the butt of the joke. Like at this point, like Chuck Norris knows. He understands the jokes. And he's right. He's in on it now.
Right.
David Hasselhoff. He also knows it, right? But I just don't think that again, you look at Dodgeball. You have fucking Chuck Norris, right? And then you had the Hoff like yelling at the jerk, like he understands. I don't think that if you got Corey Feldman to do that, I don't think he'd be like, I take this serious.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's why this is like Vanilla Ice, same way, fully understands it. He didn't at first, but now he finally embraces like, all right, yeah, like
he seems cool with it now. He's okay with it.
Yeah. But again, that guy, I don't know if it's that many drugs that he's done. But yeah, just messed up.
Yeah.
I would hate to be that person.
All of Hollywood. That's like my daughter was super cute. Like she was a super cute little girl.
Wait,
and
what? He had a GoFundMe to pay for a bodyguard.
Dude, he's amazing. Like I seriously, and like the hot chicks that follow him around that he calls his angels, like that one cracks me up too, because like he's almost like a cult leader with them. It's bizarre. Like I hope it's a shtick. I really do. Because if not, we're gonna hear about it later in like one of those like cult, series where they're like, this was Corey Feldman. And all these girls are like, you can't eat that. That's not broccoli. Like, because that's what he's like yelling at these girls about.
But he's also someone who still defends Michael Jackson. And I don't think Michael Jackson ever molested him. I don't. I've talked about this before. I don't think Michael Jackson was molesting every little kid. Michael Jackson molested specific ones. I'm sorry, you cannot make me feel any differently. Again, I watched that whole thing. It was absolutely disturbing on HBO. Those stories were too similar for two people that didn't know each other.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he molested every little kid. I think in his weird, perverted mind, and I just talked about this with someone, I think he fell in love with these like certain kids. They were always underprivileged. That's why you heard of all this stuff. And then when it came time, he moved on to, someone else. I don't think that it was, Feldman and Macaulay Culkin and, all of them.
I think Macaulay Culkin even said that he wasn't, if he had been, he'd be telling people left and right, but it didn't happen. They were just good friends. I think Michael Jackson had a messed up childhood.
He did.
I definitely think that, like, I still think he definitely, diddled some little ones.
You'll never get me off that. Then I'll never.
There was just too much. But I mean, he's just a weird dude, like people think we're all weird. So.
But again, like I think there's reasons that things happen, but I can't accept those as excuses because I'm sorry. Just because you had an abusive father, there's a lot of people that had abusive fathers that didn't do what you're.
As an adult, you can make choices.
Yeah. Yes, people don't realize that. Like my choice to collect action figures.
Right.
but I don't get in trouble for that because
No,
I don't have
no.
a significant other. I don't have to worry about it.
You know, there are times where I'm glad that my wife isn't into collecting action figures because man, would that be crazy? I don't know where we'd put them all. As it
Does she
stands
collect
now, I've got
anything?
to figure things. She collects hobbies. It's what my wife does. She does. She my wife is like always like looking for like something new and fun to do. Like one of the things that she picked up maybe about 8 months ago, maybe 8 or 9, definitely not more than a year. She's taught herself ukulele and she's been playing like, you know, crazy. And it's great. Like it's one of my favorite things now because she will have my daughter sing with her and it's the cutest thing and it's beautiful to my, you know, like as a dad you're just like, oh, that's a memory I'm going to hang on to, you know. I love it. Like my wife is she's a very creative person. Like she's got a craft room in our house. It's loaded with nerdy stuff, but it's loaded with all kinds of like painting gear and you know, she paints all the time, she draws, she's always trying to think of some kind of a YouTube channel that she can create. I tell her I'm like, you just make videos and that's it. Don't worry about it. Just put it up there. Whatever it is you're thinking about today, make a
Yeah.
video. There you go. I mean, call me Chris. She's super famous and doesn't have any specific thing that she does YouTube on. If you've never seen her, I highly recommend her. She's entertaining as all heck.
And, you know, that's very difficult because it's difficult to just have a variety channel. It
Yeah.
works. It very seldom works.
Right.
But if you're not trying to, like if you're not saying, I want to make this, it can work for you by you not caring.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I
You
can't
got to do
I
your thing.
can't drop like skate videos on here because people don't want to see that. Like they do to a point. You know, but then you find skateboarders and they're like, well, this is a where's the skateboarding at? It's all toys, you know, or movie channel. Like if I start talking movies, believe me, we already tried it. It's like, yeah, no, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move somewhere else, like to another channel.
Well, or and the other thing too is like if you're gonna do that, you have to be ready for the long haul, right?
Yeah.
Like because it's gonna take a lot longer. Like if you're just doing toy tubing and stuff like that, you're gonna get more of a like. I mean, obviously, it's not a ton. Our corner of the internet is small, but
It's very small.
right.
It is
But
smaller than the adult collectible um share in Hasbro. All right.
right,
Like we're
right,
tiny. We are
yeah.
absolutely tiny.
But you know, and the one I love that's, you know, we're a community. Like everybody kind of knows each other a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Um, but like it if you like I found like not sticking to one specific toy line, I found that like it took longer for me to grow my channel than I had expected, but it's helping like in the long run, like I'm getting my Marvel Legends folks and I'm getting, you know, some of the other groups and it little by little it gets there. And like my wife was like she was looking up stuff and like I think some of the averages are like in order to get a successful YouTube channel, you really have to like kind of be ready for at least 4 to 5 years of hard work at the very least. You know, you put your time and effort in there and you remind yourself that you don't give up. Because like on the year and a half that my channel has been going, there have been several moments where I was like, man, why am I doing this? Like, why am I spending the money that I'm spending on this? And it's like, well, I'd be buying the action figures anyways. At least now I'm trying to do something else with it. You know? So
That's
it's
yeah, that's how it happened with me.
yeah, it's hard. And burnout, you know, burnout is always a thing that's, you know, ready to happen any moment, you know. Like and you know, I was a graphic designer a long time ago and I burned out on that. it was, so I get, how the burnout happens. Usually when that starts to happen, I'll do something else, or I'll do, a couple of videos that are out of the ordinary for me, like doing something, like stop motion, trying to get that
Yeah.
going. I, I'm not sold on staying where I'm at as far as like what my content is and stuff like that. Like it could become something completely, like Mr. Home Arcade obviously started out as a completely different channel. He wasn't a toy channel. He was originally like a video games and game streaming channel. And he just
Okay.
he wound up getting into, well, I mean, always was probably,
Yeah.
but like started getting into the Motu stuff, and he turned what he was doing as a channel into that, and now he's a big toy community guy.
It's one of those things, and I could talk about this for hours. I can't because I got to go to bed eventually. It is one of those things, and you listen to the people that talk about creating content or creating a channel, and they're like, if you don't know what you want to do everything until you figure out what it is.
Yeah.
And then you focus in on that. And they'll tell you, don't try and create multiple channels when you're growing one. If you know how to grow one, then that's fine.
Yeah,
But
I did that.
Do, an
Did really
entertainment channel and a toy channel and a skateboard channel all at once, because if you're working a full-time job, which most of us are, you don't have time. You need to focus in on one. Once you learn how to make a channel and grow the audience, I feel that I could, if I have the time, and I don't, if I feel that if I wanted to now, I know how to build an entertainment channel. Because I would have to do content differently, no doubt about it. I'd have to learn how to edit, but I understand how to bring in organic audiences that learn to like you for who you are. And that's what people don't understand. Kenzo here, he said, I have learned the engagement is what it's all about. And I'll say this right now. Creating content, creating pre-recorded content, that gains you subscribers. Doing lives, that creates your core audience. That creates your community, because people tune in and they like to hear what you have to say. And the other thing is, and watch other channels, they want to see this highlighted. Mr. Home Arcade is really funny. He's my go-to Motu content. People like to see their name. They like to see their chats highlighted. They like to see it red. And I'll tell people this. Don't talk at the people. Talk to the people.
Right.
Because people fully see it. I can't explain that anymore. I can't express that anymore. And again, it works for some people. But man, some people, they just don't get it. And it's because they watched so-and-so do it. It's like, well, Mr. Beast is fucking huge and he's completely different. We're a very small niche. And when you find out that someone likes something or that people like something, stick to it. At the end of the shows, it was at the end of Monday Night Toy Ramblings, I just started highlighting everyone that was saying goodbye one day. Right, as the montage was playing, the music was playing. I didn't really think too much of it, and then all of a sudden, someone brought it up to me, and they're like, "I love when you're doing that. I'm always waiting to see if you're going to highlight mine." So now I'm like, "Well, I can't go take a piss right after, because people are looking for this, and they're excited to see it."
Right.
So it's like, it's one of those things now that I saw and people enjoy it. So let's just keep doing it, right?
I love when my comments get highlighted, especially when I throw the off the wall stuff out there that I don't think anybody's going to like mention. And I'm like, oh, you didn't read that before you put it up, did you?
No, and Kenzo, this true. And just be yourself, because fake ass people crash and burn. It's kind of like people who lie. I've never understood lying, because it it seems exhausting to remember what you lied about. It is hard enough to remember
Right.
what really happened, let alone what did I lie about. Like,
Yeah, I'm getting too
hold
old
on,
for that shit.
let me get my notebook. Let's see here.
Can't
Oh yeah,
remember my
I
kid's name
said
some days.
this. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, again, I can go on and on, but I do have to eventually have to call it a night, or I won't ever. I'll be like, hey, I gotta get ready for work. You guys want to come in the shower with me? No one wants that.
Hey, listen, I keep joking that like my channel's not making me any money right now. I need to go over to OnlyFans and make a channel with my ugly feet. Somebody's gonna pay me for something. I know it.
Oh man, I don't even. It is nuts. I was, you get stuck on these like, where are they now? And I actually got stuck on a Smallville of where are they now? And you're watching it, and then it gets to one where it's like this person has an OnlyFans, but you wouldn't think that it's one of the very pretty girls. It is Pete. Did you ever watch Smallville?
A little bit.
So
Not religiously though.
So you remember his best friend, the black guy that left the show after like 3 seasons?
Vaguely.
Okay, so
Vaguely.
they're like, yeah, his content is him showing off, like he shows off like how great a shape he's in, and then he has an OnlyFans where him and his girlfriend obviously show the stuff they do, and then the girls they bring in, and I'm like, motherfucker. Like, good, I would not have expected that guy. What?
I said I'm in the wrong biz. I'm saying.
Well, don't worry. If I was in that, people would be like, "You're in the wrong biz." Nobody wants to see that.
When we're broke, my wife will be like, "You say I have cute feet. Should I do some cute feet pics?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, hey, we need a new pool. Come on, let's go. Like,
you
just
know
can't
what?
date them.
It's if you. I'm glad there are people that want to do that, but I will say that it is my job to make sure my daughters stay off that.
Yeah, OnlyFans is a weird concept too. Why pay for porn when there's so much free porn everywhere? I mean, you can go on Instagram and become Thanos' friend, and you got lots of porn
there. And you know what? People don't even look at your history and go like, "What are you looking at?" Like, it's just there. Like, you just be like, I don't even know how I subscribe to that guy. No, I'm with you. The whole OnlyFans thing, and when that crashes, it burns. And let's be honest, that is just waiting for it to crash and burn, because I mean, we already hear about it now. But how many Hollywood actors don't pay their taxes? Those people, and I'm saying those people, a lot of those people don't understand that you have to pay taxes.
Yeah.
And soon their OnlyFans is going to be behind the bars.
Yeah, I've already talked to my tax people about what do I got to do if I start making money? She's like, "What do you mean if you start?" I'm like, "If I start, trust me. If I start to make money, maybe." But yeah,
well,
yeah.
I will say this. I haven't had to look into it yet. I'm able to do everything through TurboTax for how much I've made. But I would say probably after this year, if things continue, is when I might actually have to look for someone to actually do my taxes. Nice. and be like, all right, what can I write off and what can't? Because my ex is she's a CPA. Well, she has a master's in accounting, but she isn't a CPA. She doesn't do that. She's like, you need to talk to a CPA. I can tell you. And if I remember correctly, I believe there's someone in here that is a CPA. And he's brought it up before. Clinton Jorgensen.
Man, if I could write off my action figures every year. Oh, how cool.
And see, I'm not sure if you can. My ex looked and she's like, I don't think you can. But I believe Clinton Jorgensen said you actually can. So I got to talk to somebody.
It might be hairy.
At this point, I don't really want. I don't. It's too much to look into, because every time you start doing that, you're giving the IRS a little bit more to look at you. And I've had the IRS audit me when we used our vehicles for work and we were writing off our mileage. And it is just it is so stressful because it's like, really, writing this off, I made like an extra $3,000 driving my car, beating the shit out of it. Go find someone who's actually not paying their taxes. That's rich. That is avoiding this. Like, I'm just trying to get a little bit more back for
A
using
guy
my
who made $700 paid only $700 after they made millions a couple of years in a row. That's
yeah.
No politics.
Billionaire toy tuber problems. Yeah,
I know. Right. He ain't wrong.
You mean like hundredaire? I'm a hundredaire toy tuber, and I'm only a hundredaire because I just got paid today.
Oh my god. Yeah, right. I'm getting paid, and I should be check should be dropping in a few hours, and it's already spent. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I got paid, and I paid out the bills, and I'm like, damn it. So, but I'm going to let go. I'm going to let you go.
Yeah.
Tell everyone where they can find you. Tell everyone where they can find you, and if you have anything coming up.
So I don't have anything coming up. But I will. I'm continuing to always put out new toy reviews. I've got a really good Super 7 one for those Super Kaiju coming out. I picked up Godzilla, and it's one of the first reviews that I've done for a Super 7 figure that I'm not like talking trash about Super 7 in. so you might want to see
I'm not going
that.
to comment on that. Right?
I own so much Super 7 and I'm constantly bashing them, but I can because I have to. Like, I try to be honest about my reviews. But you can find me on YouTube, Hyperdellic Dude, all one word.
It's all in the description. Both his Instagram and YouTube are now.
I got like I'm doing I do some stuff on Facebook and in Facebook groups, and if you want to hit me up on Discord, I'm in there. You hit my channel, all of my links are there. I've even started up on that new Blue Sky platform. It's not bad. It's like old Twitter, but a little less less Nazis. Which is, it's calmer.
We don't say that word on YouTube.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You already said it.
Okay.
I only know because Matthew will be saying something really. Matthew's going to be saying something really. He's the one that always reminds me. Again, I come from the punk scene. And, to me, it's something that needs to be said because we had to deal with them.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, still do. I mean, it's all over the place. But Blue Sky's all right. I never really got into the whole Twitter situation. So I mean,
Twitter or X or whatever it is. Like, how do I see how do I see someone who commented? Like, why can't I just hit this and it says, here's your comments?
Well, and I don't know if Blue Sky lets you put in links. I don't like how Instagram doesn't allow you to put in links.
Oh.
Like, that's annoying.
I
know why they do it, but
No, what's annoying is that people still do it, and I'm like, I can't do nothing with that. Stop doing it.
I still do. I've tried to do like the Bitly thing, but even that's still kind of like, it's like, oh, this is.
But you can't do that on. But you can't. You can't highlight and take something off of you or off of Instagram. Maybe you can on a computer, but who looks at Instagram?
If you're on your iPhone, you can, but you got to take a screenshot of it and then you can copy it off of the screenshot. That's what I do all the time. Yeah. You take a screenshot, and their photo app has like word recognition for photos, so you can actually highlight the words in the photo. So there's a hack for you kids out there. If Instagram, you don't like that you can't tap those links. There you go.
Yeah, but then you end up with so many screenshots of that one day you're just like, all right, delete.
It's all double-edged swords. It's all double-edged swords. Dude. I honestly, I try to stay off of social media as much as possible. Like I comment on everything that's in the Toy Network one that Oz, runs. And I love that, that's a fun little community. But for the most part, it's just, me talking to you guys, one-on-one in your Instagram feeds and stuff like that, or through comments. But hit me up on any of those. I pretty much reply to everybody who sends me a comment. I love having, comic book and action figure banter back and forth on the internet. It's I don't have a lot of like in real life buddies anymore that, like, and I say in real life, but like, like in my neighborhood, people that I associate with every single day. I don't have a lot of friends that are like into toys. I have a few here and there, but we're all introverts. So it's like introverts unite. Maybe tomorrow. You know? so so like the internet helps me. You guys, I've grown a large, group of friends, and I like that. It's fun. It for me, it's become less about the YouTube channel and more about just contributing to the community. Like I
Yeah.
try to have fun with it. So I hope that that comes across in my videos. I hope that like everybody, I know I'm not, you know, it's funny, like my YouTube channel, I don't swear a lot. I try to keep most of the content
As
pretty
you,
evergreen.
and again, I've told Tony's Figs this so many times. And again, you see me on the lives. They start after 9. They're not meant for kids. But I do my reviews. I work in a professional environment. I'm walking in and out of offices, fixing copy machines. I can't be fuck this, fuck that. This thing, like when I do my lives, it'll completely different. But when I do my reviews, I don't know how you raise your kids. So if you're sitting down and you want to put me on your TV while I'm reviewing, Cobra Commander,
Right.
you don't want to be like, well, this is fucking, this vac metal. It's all fucking okay, but it's like someone's gonna be
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna watch this. And understandable.
Oh, there have been times where I had to turn off Mr. Home Arcade because my kid was like right there. I'm like, oh, maybe you shouldn't be hearing this.
Yeah. And that's what, like, because people say I don't really care. Like, that's fine.
Yeah,
But
it's content that the folks that like it like it. I love Mr. Home Arcade. I watch all his stuff.
yeah,
He's one of my favorites. But it's like I can't have it around my kid. And so like my channel, the what I want, it doesn't have to be perfect for every kid. Like I have thrown out an F-bomb. Like when I reviewed that
yep.
Beetlejuice figure from Loyal Subjects, I even said, I was like, look, I don't say this often, but this is fucking atrocious. And I was like, and so like I will hold those punches. But anybody who knows me in my personal life knows that like I love the F word. That's one of my favorite words. It's a
Oh,
noun, it's an adjective, it's a hyphenation, it's a it's an emotion, it's everything.
No, I'm with you 100%. And like I said, if you caught me at my shop, I probably swear more than anyone else.
Right.
But I also know how to walk into an environment and not do it. And again, before I had kids, I would walk through Target just swearing. Once I had kids, I was like, and I would tell my buddy, I'd be like, just stop. What? I'm like, stop swearing. Why? I'm like, there's kids around here.
Yeah.
Oh. I've even told Tony, like, I'll be on the phone with him and he'll be like walking through Target. And I'm like, dude, fucking stop swearing. I just said, I'm like, there's kids and you don't know how their parents raise them. And not to mention, it sounds awful. It does. Like, you think it sounds really cool when you're young.
Right. Yeah. You're like, I'm an adult. I'm swearing.
Yeah. And then as an adult, you're like,
and then when you have kids, you're like, oh man, my kid is a potty mouth already. I got to cut that out somehow. It is kind of funny. I did teach my daughter though. She's going to be 10 and she will go to a quiet place away from everybody when she needs to swear. And it is funny.
So my son, he swears like crazy. And even though I've told him, I out of respect, I wish you wouldn't, but he refuses to. But my oldest, she did the same thing. And their mom doesn't care. Olivia, I know she swears. She doesn't do it around me. Now, the fucking Phil Collins thing, that came because of that. And it was, anyone that's still listening that doesn't know the story, I'll quickly tell it, is we would always listen to Disney music at dinner. And there was a time that Phil Collins was the only person that seemed to do any Disney movies. He wrote like every song and sang it. And I was like, fucking Phil Collins. And I told Olivia, anytime Phil Collins comes on, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it be Genesis, whether it be I go, you can swear and say fucking Phil Collins. To the point where, like, if we're driving and a song comes on, she doesn't realize it. I'll be like, looking at her, she's like, and then she'll see the radio and be like, fucking Phil Collins. And again, she has swore around me, but for the most part, she tries not to. But that, she has free reign.
Right.
Hence, it's right here.
Fucking Phil Collins.
And at this point, you know what I want? I want to find out Phil Collins is like, why is this guy who does some stupid toy channel constantly saying fucking Phil Collins? I want like one of his people to reach out to me like, dude, why are you doing this?
Can you maybe lay off of Phil a little bit? He's a nice guy.
I like his music. I think he makes good music.
No, I think that's funny. That's kids are the times that I have caught my kids swearing. Like I've got a couple of ring videos from her running in the front yard, and she'll trip and be like, "Shit," and it'll be like, "What'd you say?" And she'll be like, "Oh," she'll run away. She's so embarrassed.
I've heard Olivia. She'll say something, and I'll look at her and go, "Excuse me," and she's like, "What?" I go, "Do you want to repeat that?" And she's like, and she'll say it, and I'll go, "That's not what you said." And she's like, "Yeah, it is." I'm like, "No, it's not." And she truly doesn't realize that she said it. Because she normally does. But then there are other times that I'll say, "Excuse me," and she'll be like, "I said this." You know, I'm like, "No, you didn't." And she's like, "Yes, I did." But like, I know the times when she doesn't realize she said it, and she's truly like, "I didn't say that." Like, yes, you did.
And that's
I didn't just hear it.
That's part of how I taught my daughter about swearing, because I was like, look, there's going to be moments where you hurt yourself or something, and you're going to want to drop an F-bomb. I was like, you gotta, if you're at school, you gotta not. I was like, if you're around your grandparents, don't do that. But it was funny because like the other night we were at my sister-in-law's house having dinner, and my sister-in-law asks my daughter, she goes, "You don't swear, do you?" And she was like, "Yeah, I swear." And to hear a 9-year-old go, "Yeah, I swear," is like kind of funny. And I'm like, "You don't swear around us though." And she's like, "No, I go like you said, I go by myself in my room and I go and I swear a little." And like my mom used to have a story about my brother getting caught saying the F word in his corner one day in his room just because he needed to. She was like, he just had to get it out. I was like, sometimes you have to just get it out. And I was like, look, it's okay. Just don't let your teachers hear it. Don't be all potty mouthed around me and your mom. And you know, that's fine. I was like, when you're with your friends, it's probably going to be different, but you know, it was for me.
Yeah.
You know,
I
try to be understanding.
Like I said, I'm in and out of offices. I can't say it.
Right.
A couple of years ago, I was working on a machine, and my dumbass touched a capacitor that
Still had a charge.
Still had a charge. I mean, again, was not plugged in the machine, and I yelled "fuck" pretty loud. It shocked the fuck. I mean, now no one came over, but there was no way they didn't hear me.
Right.
So
just sitting in an office and all of a sudden fuck.
Yeah, if there would have been, it was that, to me, it was that how I yelled it was like something happened. Like, I'm surprised no one came over. But that would have been one of those ones, if I would have got a complaint, like he was swearing, my boss would have said something, I would have been like, yeah, I accidentally hit a capacitor. And he would have been like, oh. But it was one of those like loud, fast ones. And it was a few seconds after that I kind of realized what I had said. But at the same time, I was like, I don't really care. I've been here 20-some years.
It happens. It's going to happen.
But anyway, perfect. I'm going to let you go for real this time. Almost 4 hours. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is fun.
This has been a blast. And again, I love doing these. It's so nice to get to know someone. And it's also great to let everyone that's watching or watches on the replay get to know you. And hopefully it helps grow your channel. Because again, when, if you grow, then I grow. And you know, everyone else that's doing something in here, they're growing too. So everyone, you guys know where you can find me. If you're a channel member, tomorrow, Punk's Pit at 10 p.m. I'm surprised Darren hasn't already asked, are you doing it? Although he probably already saw the thumbnail for it. And you guys know where to find me on Monday. But go check out this guy right here, Hyperdellic. In the description, you can find his Instagram and YouTube. Although he doesn't have anything coming up right now.
Yeah, maybe in a couple of days I'll have a video out.
So anyway, have a wonderful night and thank you very much.
All right.